Good morning. We're going to get started, so we invite you to take your seats. Okay. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Chief Deputy District Attorney Doug Ritchie.
Thank you. If you could please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got 4 commissioners in the chambers and Commissioner Tarkanian with us online. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you well, thank you.
Great, we can hear you too. Perfect. We will begin with public comment. You are welcome to give public comment up to 3 minutes on anything over which we have jurisdiction. Also, if anyone has public comment on a matter of the liquor board or the consent calendar, now is the time to make those public comments as well. So with that, I will open public comment. Come on up to the microphone, and we ask that you write your name on the microphone at the podium down there.
I'm new to this.
Yeah, well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Go ahead and write your name, and then tell us who you are, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Deborah Naharai. I live in Minden, Nevada. I'm here to propose a dark sky ordinance for the County of Douglas. We do have an ordinance at the state level, but at the county level or city level, you have to be part of an HOA or a community, and you just can't be a general residence. So I'd like to propose that. The existing light enforcement that we have permits residents to keep lights on 24-hour days or use clear light fixtures with a top that allows them to spread from one home to another. This is causing us issues in our neighborhood. We have to keep our blinds closed at night. We can't keep our windows open and get the fresh air in, so we're using our AC a lot longer. We all moved to Minden so we can enjoy our views, look at the Sierras at night, watch the snow plows going and things like that. We can't do that. So what I'd like to do is propose, if it's possible, to have the dark sky ordinance at the county level. And so that way we can prevent, people doing this. If they need it for security, turn them on, but turn them off, instead of keeping them on 24/7. And if, there's ways around it, with motion detectors and things like that. There's a lot of residents in our neighborhood that are frustrated with this and having the lights on, and we'd like to see if there's something that can be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Is there any other public comment? With that, I will close public comment.
I would like to address
And we will have a response to public comment. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you. I know that certainly one of the reasons that I love Douglas County is that we do have so many stars in the sky, contrary to a lot of other places I've lived. And we do require in our building codes new developments do mitigation lights to resolve that. But your point is regarding residents that are not respecting basically the other people in their neighborhoods. And I don't disagree with that at all. And so I would hope that maybe we could look into that, Mr. Chief Deputy District Attorney. So thank you for thank you for that observation. I've had a number of people complain about that. Yeah.
We have agenda item 16 allows us to request future agenda items, so that might be an appropriate time to bring that up. Thank you for coming. All right, then we will move to approval of agenda. Commissioner
Chair, I move
Tolbert.
that we approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Rice, that we approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Moving to approval of previous minutes, and that would be for June 5th, 2025 regular meeting. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the draft minutes of June 5th, 2025, regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners.
Commissioner Gardner has moved approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Rice. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. With that, we will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Douglas County Liquor Board. Agenda item 7A. For possible action, discussion to approve the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for SAC2 LLC DBA Genoa Lakes Golf Club, represented by General Manager Samuel Huff. Samuel Huff has signed a waiver of notice of hearing. SAC2 LLC DBA Genoa Lakes Golf Club is located at 1 Genoa Lakes Drive, Genoa, Nevada 89411. We have with us Captain Stork. I'll turn it to you.
Captain Stork with the Sheriff's Office. This applicant has completed all the paperwork and completed and passed all background paperwork. The Sheriff's Office is not a applicant.
Thank you.
Madam
Any-
Chair,
Commissioner Rice.
since that's in my district, I move that we approve the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for SAC2 LLC, doing business as Genoa Lakes Golf Club.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian, that we approve this liquor license. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll
Can
give
we
it.
have discussion first?
Yes, we can have discussion.
Okay. I
If you're going to
know,
recognize the owner,
yes, well, number one, well, not the owner.
the
I-
manager.
Mr. Huff, are you in a financial position that you bought these courses? I don't, no, I didn't think so. But you are and have been the general manager and continue to be the general manager. The thing I wanted to comment in for the public, and I don't disagree with this at all, okay? But I did want to, there was some, when the courses were recently sold and bought by a new group, that's why this is before us, okay? Members of our public understood that it involved not only the Lakes course and the Ranch course, but also Carson Valley Golf Course. And it does not involve any of that. And I wanted to confirm that for our public. That's all I'm trying to do, is
Very good.
articulate for our public. So I'm not in disagreement with this. So, okay. So now I'm ready to, now I'm prepared to vote.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously, and we'll sort of wedge between these two items our best wishes for prosperous business. Agenda item 7B for possible action, discussion to approve the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for SAC2 LLC DBA Genoa Lakes Golf Club Ranch Course, represented by General Manager Samuel Huff. Samuel Huff has signed a waiver of notice of hearing. SAC2 LLC DBA Genoa Lakes Golf Club Ranch Course is located at 2901 Jacks Valley Road, Genoa, Nevada 89411. Captain Stork.
Again, this applicant has completed all the paperwork and passed all the background paperwork. The Sheriff's Office is not opposed to this applicant.
Thank you. Are there questions, comments, or points for the general public? Okay, is there a motion?
If I may,
Commissioner Rice.
I move that we approve the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for SAC2 LLC, doing business as Genoa Lakes Golf Club, the Ranch Course, and that's all I need to say.
It's
second.
been moved by Commissioner Rice and seconded by Commissioner Tolbert. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Huff. Agenda item 7C for possible action, discussion to approve the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for Parm LLC Doing business as Flame of India, represented by General Manager Gurpal Singh. Gurpal Singh has signed a waiver of notice of hearing. Parm LLC, DBA Flame of India, is located at 1488 Highway 395 North, Gardnerville, Nevada, 89410. Captain Stork.
Again, this applicant has completed all the paperwork and has completed and passed all background information paperwork. The sheriff's office is not opposed to this applicant.
All right, bring any questions, discussion, or motion?
Well, I just want to recognize the fact that this is, for the members of the public, this is the old Sonny's Barbecue location. So I'm glad to see another restaurant come into that location rather than have it sit vacant. So anyways, in that regard, I move for the approval of the on-site unrestricted retail liquor license for Parm LLC DBA Flame of India, represented by General Manager Gurpal Singh. Gurpal Singh has signed a waiver of notice of hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gardner, seconded by Commissioner Tolbert. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Great. Thank you. We will adjourn as the Douglas County Liquor Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. We'll turn to the consent calendar. I have one point I would like to make about consent calendar item N, so I will move that to the administrative agenda. With that, I'll ask if there's a motion for the other items or any other requests. Commissioner Gardner.
I don't have any other requests. We should wait and see, I guess. I was going to make a motion, then I realized that we should allow other commissioners to pull items if they wish. I don't see anybody doing that.
I don't see any,
Okay.
so you're good.
So, Madam Chair, I move for the approval of consent items A through, what is it? HH, with the movement of item N to the admin agenda.
I will second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gardner and seconded by Commissioner Tolbert that we approve the consent items minus agenda item N. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, good. Moving to the administrative agenda. Yes. And I will note that that was a lot of consent agenda items, and a lot of them are very good things that are happening, and we're pleased that we're getting so much business done and moving forward in so many ways. But with, I see County Manager Jennifer Davidson ready to maybe make a short comment about N. Thank you.
I do think we need to read it into the record, Madam Chair. Sorry.
Thank you. Agenda item N for possible action, discussion to approve 2 contracts between RAD Strategies and Douglas County for fiscal year 2025-26. The first contract is to support the community relations team within the county manager's office. The second contract is to support the sheriff's office as the public information officer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Jennifer Davidson, County Manager. I will just briefly introduce this item. This item came about as a result of a competitive recruitment. Our community relations team has 2 individuals, and we had 1 vacant position in addition to Mr. Cachinero, who is the Community Relations Manager, who does a very effective job at public relations. And we were unfortunately unable to fill the second position. We sat down with the Sheriff's Office to discuss a path forward, what might make the most sense, and we noted that the needs of the Sheriff's Office continue to evolve and expand. They're doing some tremendous public outreach, and so it made sense at this time to recommend that we pursue professional services instead of hiring a full-time position with limited capacity to serve the multiple needs of this organization, professional services allows us to contract with a team, and RAD Strategies has been utilized in the past, and they are very effective at what they do. And so they will be providing services separately to the sheriff's office. They will be the appointed PIO for the sheriff and will work closely with him to meet his needs. And additionally, they will augment the needs of the county manager's office and the rest of this organization for those things where Eric has a limited capacity on, Mr. Catanero has a limited capacity on. With that, Madam Chair, I'd turn it back over to you for any questions or points you wish to make.
Thank you. I wanted to clarify for the record that these two contracts are completely separate, that the sheriff's office will be handling their own public information, their own press releases, their own social media posts, separate and distinct from the county manager's office at this point. It used to be that there was support for that from the county manager's office. And in the future, my understanding is, although these two contracts are one agenda item, they're really very separate, and that the sheriff's office will be handling their own, and the county manager's office will handle the rest of the county press releases and social media posts and other related matters. Is that accurate?
It is, ma'am, and if I just may offer one clarification, the county manager's office did make it clear to our sheriff that we're here to support his team in critical, especially in times of critical incidents. We may have emergencies and other things that arise, and so Mr. Catanero did indicate a willingness to assist if RAD Strategies is overwhelmed at times. So we're here to support the sheriff's office and wish them the best moving forward. They're doing great work.
Good, thank you. Are there other questions or comments, or is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the two contracts between RID Strategies and Douglas County for fiscal year 2025-26. The first contract to support the community relations team within the county manager's office, and the second contract to support the sheriff's office as their public information officer.
I'll second.
Okay, well, before we take action, we need to ask if there's any public comment on this agenda item. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. And we have a motion by Commissioner Tolbert, a second by Commissioner Rice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, carries unanimously, and thank you, Under Sheriff Elgus, for being here, and Captain Stork. Moving to agenda item 11 for presentation only, discussion and presentation from McDonald Carano regarding the 2025 legislative session and bills and other legislative issues impacting Douglas County. We have with us Lindsay Knox, Senior Vice President of Government Affairs and Advocacy Group from McDonald Carano. Thank you for being here. I hope you're a little bit rested.
A little bit. A tad bit rested. It was a very long 120 days, as I'm sure all of you saw. Amy, you saw it probably just as much as I did. But it is wonderful to see all of you this morning. So I will get started. So we ended the 120-day legislative session on June 2nd with no special sessions this year, which I think was very much a plus, even though I would say that there was rumblings that we would. There are still chances there will be some as President Trump's BBB kind of gets implemented and we start seeing where dollars are shifted and how those dollars work. There is possibility that we will need to go back and kind of relook at our budget. But that was a topic prior to session, was our budget and some mishandlings. And I don't say that rudely, but there were some issues. And prior to the legislative session starting, they start budget hearings. So the legislature goes in, the money committees meet, they're starting to discuss what these dollars look like, where they are being spent, and they notice that there was a massive discrepancy in what was being presented to what the Economic Forum was telling them. So that kind of started off the session very rocky. There was already contention there, and now it was the responsibility of the legislature to now fix this with the governor's office. They were able to do that. However, it left us very flat. There was not a lot of room for extras or, bringing in new programs. We had a very, very flat budget. So for China Spring, that left us flat, while still we didn't go under in the number that we asked for. It was very flat. And I will say the conversations that we were able to have, Jessica and Wendy and myself, with our money committees, so that is with Senate Finance, Assembly Ways and Means, were so positive. And I want to give Jessica an enormous amount of credit. What she has done for that program is instrumental to, the 16 counties that it looks after. And we're very, very lucky in this county to have her. And legislators notice that. The southern ones, the chairs of these committees that are very southern-centric, they noticed it and recognized what a positive impact she has at China Spring. So I just want all of you to know that. And there are continued discussions. And I actually received a call yesterday from the head of Health and Human Services that he was so impressed and wants to help. So that is something that I hope Jessica's watching, but I need to relay to her. And then we will get a tour. We were supposed to have a tour. It got canceled due to timing and, again, the budget crisis that we were having. So we will be planning that probably for this year sometime to bring our southern legislators up so they can tour and we can really get ahead of the budgeting process going into next session, and any other potential legislative things we need for China Spring. But one of the other positives that we had in session was there was no supermajority. The governor was still in play. He was very much a vital part of the process, and that is huge. And when we're looking at whether it is local issues or business interests, not having a veto pen is a detriment, in my personal opinion, to the way that we run our state. He got a little veto happy, and we had 87 vetoes. That surpassed his past session vetoes, which was 75 or 76, which was the highest that it had ever been, and now we are now at 87. And that's unfortunate. I don't believe that we should ever have that many vetoes in a session. And hopefully that kind of opens eyes as we move into 2027 session. But the other piece is it was an election year. People were running for office. The governor is up in 26, as well as the other constitutional offices. You have our Senate Majority Leader, Nicole Canizaro, who announced 2 days ago that she is running for Attorney General against our current treasurer, Zach Conine, in the primary. So there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people that, while they were focused in session, they have other thoughts going on in their head of what their next steps are. So that, I think, was also a part of session that maybe, the general public does not see, but it does influence the way that things work. The governor had 5 massive priorities, many of which I had the opportunity to work on: education, housing, healthcare, criminal justice, and economic development. Of the 5 bills that he had, education and housing were the only 2 that passed. They were heavily amended bills. Senate Majority Leader Canizaro and the governor worked together to bring their education bills to be one at the end of the day. Compromise, and I think it turned out to be a pretty decent bill. The housing bill, again, heavily amended. I worked on that quite a bit. Not as great as I would have liked it, but hopefully it kind of loosen some things so we can start getting the housing in the state that we need. Economic development bill died in committee. The criminal justice bill failed in the Senate during the final 30 minutes of session because of the chaos that happened on the Senate floor, but it was unable to pass. And then the health care bill was also killed in the Assembly because of an amendment that was coming from the Senate. So there was, again, a lot of contention, even between both houses of the same party, and we got to kind of live that each and every day with getting bills killed or amended. Another big issue that came up, and this started last session, and it was a bill, it's called SB 431. And what it did was the governor really wants to centralize how state government works. So he was looking at the massive numbers of boards and commissions that we currently have in the state. And he goes, we need to consolidate these. We need to make these smaller. So we had a lot of discussions during the interim on what this would look like. It came with a almost 400-page bill. Nobody could agree upon it. That bill gets killed. Then we try and bring another one forward. That causes contention between lobbyists, governor's office, legislators. At the end of the day, it all failed. But this is going to be a priority moving forward and will continue to be a discussion, but it sucked a lot of oxygen out of that building and probably took away time that we could have been focusing on other things. But at the end of the day, that is the goal of the governor, is to make sure that we have smart government, that it is transparent, centralized, that we are doing the right things for our citizens of the state. So again, sucked a lot of oxygen out of the room, but it is something that I think is very important for all of you to know, that he wants to make government transparent and work for the people. So going into some of the bills, you all received our end of session report. I think it is 121 pages long, so there are an enormous amount of bills in that. We will not go over all of those, obviously, because we would be here all day long. But I'm going to go over some key ones that I worked a lot on for the county, and I believe that all of the individual departments also received reports as well to make sure that they have just their own bills and they're not going through the 121 pages looking for things. One of the first bills, and this was introduced by Assembly Majority Leader Sandra Howdege, and that was AB 241. So what this bill did is it required local governments to adopt an ordinance to authorize multifamily and mixed use on commercial property. The reason for this is you are seeing, and not so much in Douglas as in other jurisdictions, you are seeing, these strip malls where they've been vacant for years and nobody's buying them. Can we use this for, more attainable housing? So that was really her focus on it. It got a lot of pushback. Jennifer and I had spoke about it. It was problematic. One of the things that we were able to get done in the bill that Assemblywoman Howdege agreed to was making sure that the Tahoe Basin was not touched. So we were able to get an amendment in there to make sure that Tahoe stayed as is, and it did not become problematic, because then we bring in the other services, TRPA, Forest Service, and we knew the nightmare that that would be. So she was agreeable to that, and again, grateful, but that bill has been signed by the governor, and when people buy our own property, they will now have this ability to bring in different uses if it is zoned commercial. This is another bill that sucked an enormous amount of oxygen out of the building, and that was SB 69. So this was Story County's economic development bill. And I think on the surface, at first, everybody was like, we get this. We understand how the tax abatements work, and when you're bringing in these people and you're not getting funding for years, that there are some issues, especially when you're bringing in a massive workforce like they have in Story County. Are you talking with all the right people, such as fire, such as police? So again, I think on the surface, everybody understood the intent. The way it was drafted was very problematic as we tried to bring new industries to this state, because it didn't just impact Story County, it impacted all the local jurisdictions. So again, there was a lot of discussion. There was probably 12 to 15 amendments on this bill. There was points in time this bill was dead. It came back alive. It was dead, never to resurface, came back. At the end of the day, it did pass. And really what it came down to and what the bill ended up being is that it requires applicants for transferable tax credits or partial tax abatements within economic districts to enter an agreement with local governments to help offset public service costs. That's really what it does at the end of the day. Understandable. And a lot of the companies that do come in already do those things, but for those that don't, maybe they're smaller or they just kind of haven't met with the local government as they should, this will require them to make sure they are having those discussions early and what that impact, that fiscal impact to that local jurisdiction is going to be. So that was signed by the governor. Again, an enormous amount of time and energy went into that bill. And, one of the things, and I think most of you know I'm a relatively blunt person, this is where we saw probably the most kind of inner fighting within like the lobbying core. We normally can come to agreements. That's kind of the way we all operate. But like the lying that occurred during this was very, very frustrating. And we continue to see it not only with this bill, but with other bills. And it was very off-putting, but it was something that I have never witnessed in the almost 20 years that I have been doing this. So I think that a lot of us learned a lot of lessons. I think a lot of people were taught lessons. But I think this bill, at the end of the day, it showed that if you want something passed, if you have a true mission to accomplish for your client or for your jurisdiction, you have to do it in a very open and transparent way. And that is how you're going to build consensus to get to where it is. And I think at the end of the day, that did happen, but it took a lot of steps to get there. The next is probably my least favorite bill, and this is SB 324. So this was the single-use bottle ban in Tahoe. Yes, Commissioner. So originally this bill was it was really kind of fell on the casinos and the business and wouldn't really impact Douglas or Washoe, whatever Carson has of Douglas or of Lake Tahoe. And then it got amended and it impacted the local jurisdictions. I'll give you a little bit of background. In my initial meeting with the senator on this, once the bill was amended, was not a good one. It was you are late to the game. And I was like, no, you just amended this bill. So now we're impacted and we're here to figure something out. How can we agree upon something to get your bill passed if it's that important to you? We offered up ideas. None of those ideas were accepted. At the end of the day, the bill died in committee. Again, created an enormous amount of contention between the senator who introduced the bill and the chair who had the bill in the assembly, but was not passed. The last day of session, there was one bill that opened this chapter, and the senator tried to amend it into this bill, and it was an assembly bill. And we scrambled, met with assembly leadership and said, you cannot you concede on this bill. You have to say no. So leadership met, they agreed that this was a no-go, and we were able to keep that bill dead. It's going to come back up in some way, shape, or form. My hope is that, Keep Tahoe Blue or whatever groups are working on it, come and work with us, and really let's have a dialogue of how this works. A lot of the places up in Tahoe already, are using the tin or the aluminum bottles or different, things for water, and that is totally fine. But to put that responsibility on the local governments was just unnecessary, and would have been a cost burden, on Douglas County. But yes, it will come back, so be prepared. The next one, and this was SB 116. This was the pay bill, which I think everybody knows it as the pay bill. Obviously, that started in 2023. Governor said if it got to his desk in 2025, he would sign it, which he did. There was quite a few amendments, a lot of working with Senator Daley, who brought the bill forward, to make sure that it was done correctly, to not overburden local governments, to make sure that the raises were going in proper timeframes. So again, that bill was passed and was signed by the governor May of 28th and went into effect July 1st. The next bill is Senate 426, and this is the scenic byway safety zone. It did pass, got signed, and will be effective October 1st. So that establishes the safety zones along the Lake Tahoe roads, US 50, to reduce the congestion and illegal parking. NDOT and local police, I believe, are working together to make sure that this is implemented correctly. But I think will hopefully eliminate some of the issues that we currently have in the basin when it comes to the traffic that is up there. And then the last bill is
So,
Senate
Ms.
Bill.
Knox,
yes.
before you go on
Yeah,
beyond that, that's AB 426?
SB 426.
SB 24, okay. Yeah, regarding safety zones, I know that this board, when we took action on that, we asked for an amendment to that would not allow lane reductions, lane diets in the Tahoe Basin. And I believe that amendment did get in and passed. So I think that's an important thing to point out to our constituents, is that we did have some impact there and looked out for our residents there.
Yes.
Concerning possible public safety, getting people in and out of the basin when we have crisis. So, yeah, thank you.
Correct. And then the last bill is Senate Bill 420, and this would have enabled the business improvement districts. This was a very quiet bill during session, and there wasn't a whole lot of talk. I worked very closely with the lobbyist that was pushing this bill. There were some amendments going around. At the last amendment that I had seen, had been approved by the county. But at the end of the day, they didn't push hard enough. It got stuck in a money committee. They could not get it out, and the bill died. I was told that they would like to bring this back. I asked them to, let's start, again, discussions early and often, instead of waiting till session ends or right before session starts, to start this dialogue. Because I think, again, if it's going to impact us, we need to be a bigger part of the discussion. And they agreed to that. So again, I would guess probably after the new year, those discussions will start, and we will be able to have more of a say in what happens on this bill.
Can I interrupt?
Absolutely.
And maybe add a little bit of context from one of my committee assignments, which is the South Shore Transportation Management Association and Tahoe Transportation District. And so on the Nevada side, they do have enabling legislation that allows private businesses to have a vote amongst a geographical area, and if a majority want to form a business improvement district, then all of the businesses in that area are assessed whatever amount, and then that money has to be used for the purpose articulated. Nevada does not have that enabling legislation, and so one of the efforts that has been made in conjunction with LakeLink is using a business improvement district to get private funding to support LakeLink, which really brings customers to businesses is the theory and the justification. And so if the California side moves forward and assesses their districts an amount to support Lake Link, then the question will obviously be how are Nevada private commercial entities going to support, or are they going to support, and there won't be this mechanism available on the Nevada side. At least in the way that was envisioned by this bill. So I do not offer any support or non-support. I just provide that for, does that give you greater context for what that was all about?
So I will
From my
add to that is Reno has a business improvement district. And it is downtown. Everybody's in it. Everybody pays an assessment, and it is to help clean up downtown. So we have a mechanism. It can be done. Whether, and I could be very off, I have only done the actual like working with the bid is what we call it, not if it happened legislatively just for the city of Reno. So I would be interested to know if their mechanism that they used is available and can be, copied now instead of having to go back and do legislation.
That's a really good point, and part of the discussion that should be had before something like this comes forward. So I appreciate what you said about let's talk early before the next one. And I just, if I hadn't been serving on these committees, I wouldn't understand. And so I hope that gives a little bit more context. And I'm not in support or in opposition. I just thought you would benefit from having that context.
No, I completely agree with you. I think it's very important to understand that. And again, I'm very close with the lobbyist who is pushing this, and I will be bugging her to make sure that we continue to be part of those discussions and that we can meet and be like, okay, how do we make this the most effective, business improvement district that it could possibly be, but there isn't a negative impact.
Thank you.
Of course. So with that, again, we are now getting ready to go into election cycle, as all of you are aware. And we have 2 years until the next session, and a lot of conversations to continue to have. I would say most importantly with China Spring and Health and Human Services, and making sure that they can assist us potentially in other ways, especially, and one thing I will add is with the split of Health and Human Services, we now have the Nevada Health Authority, which our Medicaid Director, Stacy Weeks, will be overseeing, which I think is probably one of the greatest decisions this state has ever made, and it was done in a bipartisan fashion. There was no disagreement that this needed to happen and that Stacy was the right person to do it. So I think with that split and Director Whitley being able to focus, his efforts not on the Medicaid world and really the other divisions he has will hopefully benefit China Spring. And again, we'll continue those discussions as well as some of these bills that I know will be coming back and meeting with those people early and often. So I am happy to answer any other questions that any of you may have.
County Manager Davidson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Jennifer Davidson for the record. I don't have questions for Lindsay. I just wanted to thank her for the wonderful work that she and her firm did in this legislative session. And also I wanted to acknowledge the army of staff representatives that we had at the legislature, as well as our elected officials. I really think it's important to acknowledge the tremendous slew of bills that would have impacted our elections. Ms. Bergens was living at the state legislature, testifying routinely in committee hearings and all of the things that she needed to do. She did a lot of work killing bills, and so did her association, as well as Ms. Guerin was routinely testifying on behalf of recorders in the state. And we're just very fortunate as an organization to have the level of talent that we have across our department heads and our elected officials to represent Douglas County and ensure that the interests of our residents are looked out for. And I felt that Ms. Knox and McDonald Carano did a good job augmenting the efforts of our elected officials and letting them do their thing and be the face and the voice that they needed to be to advocate and to let them know that she was here to support them. So I just wanted to throw that in. I know Lindsay could have probably spent hours talking about all the things that didn't pass and the impacts that it would have had. I think the most important work that we often do as an organization is stopping legislation from advancing and getting the legislature to understand unintended consequences of what they're proposing. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
Can I add a few things? Because you just kind of like sparked some other things in my mind. And I will say, I completely agree with you with staff. Amy, you being in the building makes my life very easy. But it goes beyond that, is that out of the elected officials, there's not a whole lot that do show up. They show up in crisis. They don't show up every day to do the work. And to me, that speaks volumes to the care that you have for your position and for the constituents of this county. So again, that speaks volumes to me in understanding, again, first time truly representing a local government, so a little different, a lot more bills, and a lot more interests. So to have that, have you there, it made, again, I think it was more streamlined because you understand your world so well. But again, not having all those elected officials there every single day, I tip my hat to you for willing to do that because it is not a fun place to be all the time. Some days it's great, especially when you kill bills. I think that is always the highlight of my session is how many bills I can get killed because there are very few opportunities nowadays to get good bills passed. Still possible. I've done my fair share. But when you are either, I would say, a local jurisdiction or you are a business, kind of slims you down based off of the way the current legislature sits. So thank you for being in the building and going in and into the trenches with all of us. And thank you.
I will note that we have a China Spring tour with Senator Titus on August 19th. And
Okay.
so if anybody's chomping at the bit, they could join in on that. But otherwise, we'll be more formalized as we move forward with invitations.
I will still check with the Southern legislators to see if any will be up. I think everybody is still kind of in vacation mode. I think I've seen 2. But I am starting to get calls saying we're getting ready to, ramp up our reelection. So it is coming. It is coming much earlier than it normally does. But I will check with the Money Committee folks to see if anybody will be up north or can make it up north to do that.
Good. Commissioners, any questions or comments for Ms. Knox? Commissioner Tarkanian, do you have anything?
No, that was very comprehensive.
Commissioner Gardner?
Thank you. Lindsay, thank you for the tremendous job you did. I appreciate that. I agree with you. 87 vetoes is I think Governor Lombardo expressed disappointment that he had to use the veto pen that often. I believe that was partially due to the fact that we are going into a constitutional officer election next session, and a lot of that was gamesmanship, but that's politics, and we have to understand that. I think a lot of it was positioned to put him on the spot and having to make a policy statement that perhaps would try to paint him in a negative picture amongst the electorate going into the next session. So, but I appreciate his steadfastness in making sure that bad policy did not get passed. And so that's why it's so important that we do have that veto pen that's still available. China Springs Youth Camp is obviously one of our big priorities. It sits here in Douglas County, but it affects all 16 northern counties. And so on behalf of the Nevada Association of Counties. Once again, we appreciate your impact in that. I think we all still understand the need for expanded funding, not necessarily at the local level, counties, because we're all stretched and we're at our max, but additional funding from the state in recognition of the fact that this keeps these at risk youth out of the state prison system, and which is a lot more expensive process and not really good for them in trying to get their lives straightened out. So I think we all understand the need to expand that funding so that we can make maximum, because we have a lot more space there than we're utilizing, but we're bound by budgetary constraints to completely expand and use that facility at its capacity. And I know that counties in that case would enjoy being able to move their youth out of, into that type of an environment that could, and not use the county resources at the local level to do that. So I know that we'll be looking forward to continuing that fight in the next session. We had 1,210 bills that came before the state legislature. That seems unconscionable to me that they could come up with 1,210 new ideas over a 2-year period. However, I do understand that a number of those, probably maybe even a third or quarter, were previous ideas that did not pass in previous sessions, and they continue to try to do the the sandpaper technique of wearing them down, right, and trying to get these passed. Anyways, I want to appreciate that. We also focus at the county level on nonpartisan issues. Nonpartisan issues. I know that our electorate may find that difficult to understand, but we at the county level are involved in nonpartisan issues. Issues that affect all of our residents, regardless of party affiliation. And so a lot of our efforts, both here at the local level, at the state level with NACO and other organizations, just try to look for ways that can prevent the state government from intruding further into county business, and also creating unfunded mandates that come back to the county that we don't have the ability to fund, yet we're required to do that. A lot of that happened in this session regarding the clerk treasurer's office and the operations of elections. And so I'm glad that we were able to beat that effort back and preserve that. I also, in our last budget cycle, our clerk treasurer came to us looking for an update in voting machine capability. Even though we struggled to accommodate that supplementary request of $184,000, we were hoping we were betting on the come, a Nevada term, we were betting on the come that would be funded by the state office. And to my understanding, in talking with our clerk treasurer, maybe you can back me up on this, Amy, or Ms. Bergens, if that's the case, but you were able to achieve that $184,000 reimbursement from the state for those updated voting machines. Is that correct?
That is correct. The money, Amy Bergens, clerk treasurer for the record, the money did not come through the budget. It was leftover funding from last year from the Secretary of State's office, and on June 30th, they said, if you put in a request, we'll see what we can do. Finance helped me to get a check cut same day so that we could say, yes, we've paid it, so that we could get that reimbursement request in. And we ended up getting all $184,000 back from the states, and we were able to put it back into the general fund for Douglas County. So I'm very proud of that, and thank you for mentioning it.
Yes, well, very, very critical, and I appreciate that also, and your bird dogging that effort, as well as what you did at the state legislature level. I know that we need to also recognize our district attorney, Mark Jackson, for his tremendous involvement in the state legislative process this year. I don't want to forget Dan Coverly, our sheriff, as well. And then, of course, when we talk about elected officials, the two that completely represent Douglas County, Assemblyman Ken Gray and Senator Robin Titus also need to be thanked and appreciated for the tremendous amount of work they did on our behalf at the county level. So anyways, those are my comments. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
I have more to say now. I'll make this very, very short. Agree with you with the governor, and I do not think that it hurts him. He has stood his ground. Everybody knows where the governor stands. He does not shy away. He does not change his views. He is very steadfast in his belief system. So I think that he will be just fine going into this next cycle. In regards again to China Spring, I think that the thoughts that legislators had prior to this session were not positive of what China Spring was and how it served our kids. Again, with Jessica at the helm, that has been a very different conversation. And when we sat there and we walked through her programming and what she's doing, not only with our kids, but with their parents, you saw kind of the light bulb kind of turn on for these people. And they're like, oh no, you're actually making a difference. And to be very frank, they were probably more disappointed that they could not find the extra dollars to go above and beyond to be able to open the entire camp. But I saw that in them. And it was very genuine in their concern that we weren't able to use every bed. So again, to all of you who support Jessica, great, keep going. And I do believe that during this interim, we will be able to get to where we need to be with the help of Richard Whitley, our legislators. I think we will. So again, it is to meet often, early and often. And again, with Jessica there, I have zero doubt that we will be able to accomplish more moving into the 2027 session.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, well, I covered it as we went along and really appreciate your dedicated efforts, and it's a pleasure to work with you.
And if any other questions come up as you read the end of session report, please feel free to reach out to me. I am always available. I am off vacation now, so I am back in the office every day.
Very good, thank you. Pace yourself, because it'll happen again.
Oh, I'll pace myself. Thank you.
Yes. We will take a 5-minute break, and then we will take agenda item 12. And then I believe we'll have time before lunch to take we're going to move agenda item 14.1 in front of agenda items 13. And after that, we will break for lunch. So we'll reconvene here at 11:05.
think that's a problem for us is the scope of responsibility and lack of specialized focus. Some of our positions lack depth, and this prevents really the development of best practices, and what happens is employees are spread too thin across many diverse areas, so they can't develop deep expertise in any single domain. The second issue that we've been facing is operational. Internal staff are stretched across many categories, and that leads to us having to rely on professional services contracts and costly outsourcing. The third challenge that we have been facing is suboptimal software portfolio. So uncoordinated software acquisition has really created a lot of redundancies and missed opportunities for efficiency. The last two problems that we've been facing are a limited staff development, and lastly, insufficient specialized roles. Critical areas like cybersecurity, web design, they lack dedicated internal expertise, which forces us to rely on external resources. So I just want to quickly go over our current org chart. The two callouts that I have here are one manager manages 9 employees, and on the left side of the screen, which is our Tier 1 help desk, junior and senior staff are really separated out into different sections or business units. So there's not a lot of collaboration between those two different sections. Secondly, everyone really solves everything. So you have a staff pool of 9 employees on the left side that really have to solve different categories of problems, and assignments become really unclear. So how do we get better? I have broken down the how we get better into 5 different categories. The first category is really having better defined business units and creating distinct specialized units that take care of specific areas of IT. So the first area is network and infrastructure. This one's pretty simple. It's the architecture, infrastructure, as well as the connectivity, right? Data center operations. And then the second category of business unit is systems and application. Those are a lot more user-facing. So your computer, your printers, your peripherals, all of the software that you use, that business unit would be responsible for providing support for those software and peripherals. The second way we get better is create new positions in alignment with modern challenges. So the identified categories of 5 different positions would be the project manager. We currently have a huge need for project planning, communication, and collaboration. Secondly, cybersecurity. That's a huge topic right now of how to bolster the county's security posture, conduct audits, and provide training for all staff. The third category is a web designer. We need to upgrade and maintain the employee intranet, and we have 7 public-facing county websites that need refreshing. And then the last
Mr.
two.
Ruggia,
I'm sorry.
I hope you don't mind us stopping as we go
Of
through
course.
this. That's a particular, the web designer is, I am excited. I am really excited about that. I know that I've had trouble navigating our website as a member of the public, and then still as a member of the commission. So I'm really excited about what it just doesn't seem to be, when you go on it, it doesn't seem to be user intuitive, and difficult to navigate. And so I'm glad that you recognize the need to do that and are putting that into this plan. So thank you for doing that.
That was my most exciting piece of this as well, and especially that you're able to do it in a cost-neutral way, which is like, what? Really? That's the best news. It's wonderful. I wondered if maybe, I don't know what all the 7 public-facing websites are. Maybe you could list some of those for us?
Okay. Yeah, I should have wrote those down. The sheriff's
Just
office.
However many you have.
Most of the elected officials. So we have clerk treasurer, right? The assessor's office as well. We have the public site. We have the library site as well. So there's a couple more other sites that we're really excited to improve all the public-facing communication websites. I think I do want to temper some expectations because this position would really inherit a significant project load. I think we'd really like to develop a strong project roadmap beforehand and then really start tackling those. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes. And then the last 2 positions that are new are the system lead and the network lead. These technical leads would provide expertise and leadership to county operations and would really be available resources for other county departments. We are making some updates to the GIS department as well to refine the positions with a heavier focus on application development. So that would be the 3rd improvement. The 4th improvement would be reducing professional services to convert the dollars into training internal staff. There are some challenges with working with technology in a rural area. There just aren't too many available professional services, MSPs to really be able to do the heavy lifting for us. So we really want to convert those dollars to internal training. The last part of the request is to change my title from Chief Technology Officer to Chief Information Officer. This change really focuses on leading and optimizing technology internally for the departments, as well as focusing more on the digital tools that they need to do their jobs. So this next slide is the new org chart. As you can see, we have different business units to be able to handle some of those segmented out challenges. And there's clarity between those lanes as well as support channels. And then on the left side, you would have 2 technical leads to provide leadership and depth of the expertise for those 2 specific problems.
Can we pause? I'm sorry to distract. If we can pause just a minute. I got a text from someone saying that they're not getting sound, or just want to make sure we have our sound turned on. Yeah, okay, we do. Okay, good. Thanks.
So the expected benefits is that we would have operational gains. The reorg would really clearly align people with their roles, would provide better leadership, and then ultimately lead to better customer service. And then the last 2 things really would be to bolster our cybersecurity, our web capabilities, and then with those units would be able to focus on specific areas of need. The second benefit would be the structure, which would allow for cross-functional teams that we can kind of, I've been saying the word task force, that can be pulled into different projects to be able to solve complex problems. The third benefit would be reduced reliance on professional services, focusing on in-house development of technical experts, as well as converting those costs into valuable training dollars. The last benefit would be new positions for new challenges, right? So cybersecurity, web designer, technical leads, they're here to really deliver better operations and be available as consultants to other county departments. How do we pay for this? Over the course of the last year, we've really reduced the need for a redundant software by upgrading and optimizing those tools to be more efficient. And we consolidated some of those and as well as eliminated some software as well. We eliminated 14 software titles, which represents around $230,000 in annual cost savings, which will be utilized to fund the reorg at a cost neutral, as well as reducing the cost for professional services budget and converting some of those dollars to training. And then the result of that is really, despite adding 2 FTEs, there's no financial impact. It would be net neutral. And that demonstrates a responsible, efficient approach to modernization. The last slide that I have is to summarize, really just addressing the inefficiencies that we have in our current structure, optimizing IT, and really setting the foundation for years to come while remaining fiscally responsible.
Fantastic. Kathy Lewis, Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you. I appreciate, Kathy Lewis for the record, I appreciate Peace allowing me to sit up here. I want to say that Peace is, I think, Commissioner Gardner, you use the right words as he has spent the past year recognizing the needs of our organization, really meeting with department heads, with his staff, looking at what other surrounding jurisdictions to do, best practices, and I'm really proud of the work that he has done to get to this point for this reorganization.
County Manager Davidson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Jennifer Davidson for the record. I can't help myself but jump in here just to thank the team, especially the work of Peace. He came to us with extensive private sector experience, and he knew that there was going to be a little bit of a learning curve coming in from a private sector environment into government services and information technology environment. And I am really proud of the outside of the box thinking and approach that he brought to this. It's outside of the box thinking for this organization. It's very typical with what this industry is doing, and a very much needed approach for us to move forward. And it really sets this organization up for future success. And this is exactly the work I want to see our Chief Operating Officer doing. We want more agile, more efficient departments that are pushing this organization to be better. So I thank Peace for leading the way for our internal services department on that. And I would just say to the County Commission, stay tuned. There's more to come from an org development standpoint. We are really looking at how we can become a better future-ready organization. And then last but not least, we didn't call out the enterprise risk assessment. So I do just want to highlight that this proposal does accomplish some of the recommendations from the enterprise risk assessment that was completed recently by Moss Adams. Our highest risk exposure in this organization was identified as information technology. And so Peace took those recommendations and incorporated the cybersecurity position as well as other recommendations from the risk assessment as part of this proposal. As well as, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the leadership of this board and the direction you have given us. We have heard you loud and clear. It is very important to make sure as we're contracting for outside services that they are value add and not just money drains for us. We want to invest in our team members and their training and their abilities through job design and other things to ensure that we are spending our dollars as smartly and efficiently as we can. And I think this proposal reflects that. With that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back to the board.
Are there any questions or comments before we go to public comment? Commissioner Rice.
I just want to say one of the things that I've been concerned about for a very long time is cybersecurity. People don't realize what somebody can do from outside of this company, and this, I'll call it a company. We do provide a service for a fee. If somebody attacks our water and our sewage systems, we are very vulnerable. And I'm so glad to hear that cybersecurity is one of the points that you seem to be stressing today, because for so long we've just glided And I'm very happy to see that we're going to hopefully strengthen our security systems and prevent the possibility, well, I don't know if it's possible to prevent anything when it comes to that. The only thing I know about is a 38 or something like that, and that doesn't work in cyberspace. But that's been one of my main concerns, and I'm so glad to hear that it's going to be addressed. Thank you.
Commissioner Tolbert?
So I think it's pretty well known from my first day here that I've pointed out that IT is very important, and it may not be as sexy as the fire truck, but it's just as important in the workings of the county. And I'm probably the closest thing you have on this board to a computer nerd. So it's I would say call me first. But I'd like to say this reorganization, it's well aligned with the strategic goals. I like the modern classifications and the long-term service delivery needs that it addresses, and the big thing, the minimal financial risk. But I'm going to caution you that because the success of this is going to depend on you, because you're going to have a lot of things to deal with. I mean, there's the different departments having to share. And the different regulations you might be putting down, like this is one we're going to use, and you guys got to get ready of those. So it may not be as easy of a thing as it all looks right now in this beautiful presentation, because now you got to do the work of it. So I think you're going to have no problem with it, but those are just some of the things that I worry about and want you to be prepared for. Morale issues internally, making sure everybody, because it's still a small group, so there's going to be overlap. Just the nature of the beast. So just making sure everybody's, communicated with and understands. So just good luck.
Thank you. We will turn to, do you have anything, Commissioner Gardner?
Well, I was waiting for Danny.
He'll chime in if he's, yeah.
No, I'm going to yield my time to Commissioner Gardner because I think he's running short of his.
Thank you, Commissioner Tarkanian. Anyways, don't necessarily expect reciprocal time. Okay.
I only need that time before vacation home rentals.
Anyways, the one thing that I would like to point out is so many times I've been involved in organizations where a new person comes in and day one they start trying to knock down walls and change the environment and I appreciate the fact that you've taken a time to scope out the entire organization and your department and now you're ready to go forward with what you feel is a necessary reorganization. So anyways, I salute you for that effort. So thank you.
All right. I agree with what's been said. And with that, we will turn to public comment.
Before we get there, I would like to know by a nodding of heads, I see that there are several people here from your department, sir. Everybody good with this? Okay, I see smiles and thumbs up. I'm good to go.
All right. Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
Do you mind if I make public comment real quick from up here?
Sure.
Okay. I just want to say, Amy Bergens, Clerk Treasurer, in the year that Peace has been here, Technology Services has done a complete 180. It went from there was one person in the department that I knew I could text and get an answer from to if I submit a ticket, it's handled same day. I get, hey, I have 2-3 people in my office, and I'm needy when it comes to computers. So I'm very appreciative of what Peace has done, and that every single person on his team is 100% behind the customer service that he has said we are going to provide to the county, because we are the customer as far as the employees that work here. And as far as the web designer, I raised my hand first because right now I am the clerk treasurer web designer, and I don't want to be. So I'm very thrilled to have someone that even can point me in the right direction, because I don't know web design. I don't want to learn web design, but I also want to have a website that is customer facing and customer friendly. And I think that this is going to accommodate that. So I'm thrilled with everything that's happened. I've told Peace this before, but I hope that he is here for a very long time and that he continues to do great things.
Thank you, Ms. Bergens. Ms. Guerin.
Hello, Shawneen Guerin, Douglas County Recorder, for the record, and I echo many of those sentiments and those of the commission as well. And I just wanted to highlight, although many of the IT team players are the same, I think that the leadership that they've come under in the past year has given, Peace has really done a good job of giving them the ability to take what they know and do more with it. And I think that that will continue to grow. There has been a past practice of, or I guess a past mindset that I've seen over the past 18 years from IT, that really IT's job was to keep the power on, like to keep the machines running, not necessarily to have a deeper understanding of what the county is attempting to accomplish. And I will say that I felt like it was important to say that Peace from day one wanted to have a better understanding. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How are you doing it? And then, can we help? It wasn't, why are you doing that? It was, great. Now that we understand, how can we help? And I think that we've talked a little bit about this reorg coming up and what he's been working on, and everything about it is really intended to facilitate the how can we help, and that's just greatly appreciated from the customer end.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I will close public comment, and Commissioner Gardner.
Madam Chair, I had one additional question, if you don't mind. And I'm very careful, I am extremely careful on recognizing the threat that we have with cybersecurity and hacking of emails and spam and all of that stuff. So I'm very, very careful of what I open. The one thing about your department that I have expressed concern about is that when we receive communications from you, we don't often quite the most of those comments or input that we have gotten doesn't come from a specific person identified in your department by name. And so that concerns me about opening it or reading it, that maybe it's not coming from within our department. So is there a reason that we can't do that? Or
let's take that question offline, since it's not directly related to the reorg. So is there any other comments by commissioners? All right, is there a motion?
I will make a motion, because I completely agree with this. So I just had that one thing. Discussion on, okay. I move to adopt the reorganization plan as presented by the IT department and Peace Rugia as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gardner and seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian that we approve this reorganization. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Oh, my goodness.
That was a very strong aye. So thank you so much for the excellent work. It's not often we get to essentially spend less money and give better service. And so really well done. Thank you. Because we don't have all of the people we need to do agenda items 13.1 through 13.4, we're going to take those after lunch. We're going to take one more agenda item before lunch, and that is agenda item 14.1 for possible action, discussion on an interlocal agreement between Douglas County acting as the Tahoe Douglas Transportation District and the Tahoe Transportation District to contribute funding for the operation of a microtransit system within the Tahoe Douglas Transportation District from the 1% transient lodging rental tax collected in the Tahoe Township in the amount of $650,000 for fiscal year 25-26 and increasing by $100,000 in each of the next 2 fiscal years for expansion of service area within Douglas County, and rescind Resolution 2020R-037. And my name is attached to this, so I will kick this off and then turn it to Wendy Lang, Assistant County Manager. I am the commissioner who has been assigned to represent our county on the South Shore Transportation Management Association Board, which is the entity that runs LakeLink. And as you may recall, that LakeLink was formed in response to TRPA's requirement for the permit for the event center that there be some transit to offset additional vehicle miles that the event center might cause. And the resolution that is mentioned in the agenda title was a resolution by this board to commit to fund up to 0.5% of this microtransit. And we, since I have been on this board for 2.5 years, it has been a struggle to figure out what to do with it. So we initially took care of our obligation under that resolution with a $520,000 contribution. And we, over the next 2 years, upped it to $600,000, but never was that money tied to any geographical service area for our residents. And much of that time, SSTMA told us, we're going to expand. We want to come farther into Douglas. Stay with us. We're new, we're young. But we didn't get the expansion that we were hoping to see over the course of those 3 years. And to be honest, even though I am a strong believer in trying to get cars off the road, and I believe in this LakeLink system, it was discouraging to continue to put in that amount of money and not see increased opportunities in Douglas County. We did, over the years, make some adjustments to what LakeLink was doing to be more, what SSTMA was doing to be more transparent, and that is we were very clear on, they used to call it Nevada ridership if a drop-off or pickup was within several hundred yards of the state line, even though we had no evidence they actually came into Nevada. So over the years, we've cleaned up some things that were problematic for Douglas County, but we never got to the heart of what are we getting for our money and how are we expanding the opportunities for this for our residents. In the midst of my discouragement that we were ever going to make some progress, we had a constituent step forward, Dennis Davenport, who is here at the podium in front of us, and he took upon himself the opportunity to see if we could get designated geographical service for a specific sum of money. And he actually made headway in getting the parties to talk to each other. But over the course of that work, it became apparent that there needed to be some shifts in the entities that were entering into the agreement. And with that introduction, I believe I will turn it to Wendy Lang to explain more about the nuts and bolts of where we are and what is being proposed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for that extensive introduction and background. I think it's very helpful. Wendy Lang, Assistant County Manager, for the record. Just a couple of points that I want to make as we get into this item a bit further. So there is a 1% transient lodging rental tax that is collected in the Tahoe Douglas Transportation District, bounds which are established in the Douglas County portion of Tahoe, in the Tahoe Township. And that transient lodging rental tax is allocated specifically for addressing transportation needs in that area, including public transit services. And so, as you had indicated, this county did enter into a resolution in 2020 and has entered into agreements in the last several years allocating resources through the Tahoe Douglas Visitors Authority in support of microtransit services. The microtransit program, as you have detailed for us, has been implemented in recent years, has been gaining momentum, and as a program is poised for growth, specifically in Douglas County. Plans for expansion have been evaluated by stakeholders, including Mr. Davenport, who is here today. And I'm sorry, I failed to introduce that I also have behind me Jim Marino, the Executive Director of the Tahoe Transportation District, as well, in support of this item. Sorry, I got off track. The interlocal contract is presented here is with the Tahoe Transportation District. As microtransit has been established and implemented as a public transit service, it is logical to utilize the Tahoe Transportation District as they are the transit provider and the authority for transportation in this area. Additionally, working through the Tahoe Transportation District allows a more effective utilization of funds. Not only does it streamline the approach to a collaborative transit system, but it also addresses ridership, which allocates federal funding dollars, and this action today would immediately be able to impact that allocation immediately to the tune of $500,000 being redirected to the South Shore from federal transit funding, which has been lost in recent years. And so this is an important step. This collaboration of transit through the appropriate parties is an important step in transition. What's before you today is not only the agreement, the funding agreement through Tahoe Transportation District, but also the dissolution of the resolution that was established to fund microtransit services through other ways. This is not the final step in this process. This will continue to be an ongoing conversation. Public support of public transit services in the basin is a very important conversation. And so there will be efforts that are actually already underway for collaborative work to advance public transit and to evaluate public needs so that we may establish an effective and efficient solution in partnership with the others in the area. And I'm happy to answer any questions, as is, I'm sure, Mr. Davenport or Mr. Marino. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And before we go to questions, I want to throw in my observation as our representative on TTD that having Mr. Marino appointed as the director of TTD has brought fresh momentum, great cooperation, great vibes in that organization, and a really kind of a fresh new energy in that group. And as Assistant County Manager Wendy Lang and I and County Manager Davidson have looked at transportation at the lake and what are our highest goals, what are the guiding principles we want to have. Those are efficiency and streamlining the efforts so that we all get more bang for the buck for our transportation dollars. And bringing TTD in at this time supports those goals because we have hope of getting some of that federal funding back because we can count ridership. And in the past, when we've contracted with TDVA, we've been frustrated because we'll say to TDVA, we want X, Y, and Z along with this money. We want you to promise X, Y, and Z. And they would say, well, wait a minute, we don't really provide this microtransit. We're just a conduit to SSTMA. And so we never had a direct contract with SSTMA, so we couldn't hold them to their commitments in the contract. And so contracting directly with TTD also provides a stronger position for us to be able to do that. Okay, turning to the board for any questions for Ms. Lang.
Okay, I got a couple questions.
Commissioner Tarkanian.
Is the $850,000 going to be more than 1/2 of 1% of the TOT?
Wendy Lang for the record, excellent question. The budget for the current fiscal year for revenues is about 1.355 million. So the 850,000 that you're referencing is 2 years from now. It's difficult to predict what our revenues would be at that point in time, but at this point, it would be just over 50%, yes.
So if I remember correctly, when we first discussed this, it would have been about 2.5 years ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago. The TOT was 1.2. So you've gone up 150,000 in 2 years. Even if you did that, you're only at 105. You're not going to be at 1.7. And that's if you went up the same. We've had some really good growth in our economy lately. We're going to have a downturn, as I think most people see in the future. You may have even less. So I guess my question would be is, if it's over 0.5%, and we're not, then we're providing more than what the contract says, up to 0.5%. I'm not even sure we can go over 0.5%. I guess we voluntarily could, but it's not. It'd be more than what the contract provided. You don't see any problems with that?
I'm going to ask Deputy District Attorney Zach Wadley to answer that.
Thanks, Ms. Lang. Zach Wadley, Deputy District Attorney. So to clarify, the up to 0.5% funding commitment, and I'll put it in quotes, was via a board resolution. So it's not via a contract or a contractual obligation. So that's where the 0.5% comes from. Under this proposed contract that's in front of the board today, you start at the $650,000 level and it escalates from there, but it is, those funding remittances are all conditional upon the county collecting a sufficient amount of the Tahoe or the transportation, pardon me, there's the TLRT component of the room tax, which is the transient lodging and rental tax, which is the 1% that Ms. Lang referred to previously. But the funding commitment is conditional upon the county collecting enough money through that tax to fund this agreement. So and the 0.5%, provided that the resolution is rescinded, is really of no relevance at that point in time anymore.
Mr. Wadley, can I ask you something? Because
Absolutely.
I don't get too far ahead of it. So you're saying if there's enough money in the fund, you talk about the full 1% then, not the 1/2%.
Potentially the full 1% would be available for this contract. Yes, that's correct.
Well, you just said that we would only be obligated if there was enough money in the fund. And I want to make it sure I understand that. You're not saying that there's enough money to reach 0.5%. You're saying if there's enough money for the full 1%.
What I'm saying is if the amount collected in TLRT has to be sufficient and over and above the contractual obligation to remit the amount of money per year. So for instance, the first year, $650,000 at minimum has to be collected. Given the history, there's every confidence that will be collected. The second year, $750,000 minimum would have to be collected. The third year, $850,000 minimum would have to be collected in TLRT to make the funding remittance. So that's what I'm saying is that the 0.5% concept, provided the resolution is rescinded, is really of no force and effect at that point in time.
So what you're saying, if I understand it correctly, is that we are only obligated if the full 1% reaches that 850,000, which obviously it's going to. It's been that way for many years. Not the 0.5%. I just want to clarify that. I think that's what you're saying.
I think, yeah, and the way that you put that, I think that's fair. I think that's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. That was my first question. The only other question I had was, and this was reading in public. This is an illegal one. Zach, you could probably, you don't have to stay up for me. I read some of the public comments, and one of the public comments said that TDVA was required to provide the microtransit funding pursuant to the TRPA. God, there's so many acronyms. Is that accurate? Is it the TDVA that's responsible? And if it is, they have a lot of funding coming in from our room taxes. Couldn't they pay the difference in it?
Wendy Lang, Assistant County Manager for the record. Yes, it is my understanding one of the permit conditions on the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency's permit on the operation of the Tahoe Blue Event Center is for the provision of a microtransit system. That is accurate. There has been a commitment from the TDVA stakeholder group, which is another component of that permit, to for the next 3 years provide $3 of a $4 ticket surcharge fee to the microtransit system. So there are a variety of funding sources towards microtransit, but ultimately public transit is generally the responsibility of local government, and there are benefits for the citizens and visitors to the area to provide this service.
Okay, Wendy, I'm getting. That's a really roundabout way of what I'm trying to ask. Obviously, public transit is responsibility of the local government, but we're not talking about providing public transit in a general term. We're talking about the commitment for this event center that was our legal obligation to do. If we want to talk about public transit, there's several public transit organizations already in Lake Tahoe that get federal funds that we could be doing different things with. We're talking about the one from the TDVA required this when the event center was built, and this is the first I noticed it is the TDVA the one that's responsible to contractually responsible to the TRPA to provide this microtransit funding, and I know that we help fund TDVA in a large extent, but they also have a lot of other funds that they're receiving from the room taxes that we still haven't figured out where all that money that they spent has gone to. Are they the ones responsible, or is the county responsible for this microtransit funding?
TDVA is required under their permit to provide a microtransit system, and there are specific boundaries that addresses in the TDVA permit. So I want to answer your question. I want to be clear that yes, that is a requirement under their permit. The boundaries and the expansion that Ms. Chairwoman Hales spoke about earlier are beyond that permit requirement. And we're talking about additional service areas which are not contemplated under that permit, nor have been provided in the past with this service.
Okay, so I'm confused again. First of all, I appreciate you clarifying the first part. The second part is, this permit requirement that you're talking about had specified certain areas that this transportation was to be provided?
Yes, that's my understanding. I don't have all the details with me, and that's not really the point of this conversation.
I can jump in. That's correct, Commissioner Tarkanian. The original permit had a geographical area where TDVA was required to have microtransit.
God, I'll tell you what, that's a very important fact, and I've not been aware of that before, and I've been through many of these meetings. I like to even see what that looks like, because
it's very close into the California. It's on the California side, and it's near there. It's near the casino core, and it goes around from there. But it's not the whole of South Lake Tahoe at all. It's much smaller than that.
Yeah, the reason I said that is because my biggest problem with this, it isn't the program that I've been against from the beginning. I support whatever we can to reduce the car traffics up there. It's the amount of area that is being covered. I'm talking about the current contract. The amount of the area being covered, and the ridership is so much more beneficial to California than Nevada that I can't understand why we keep paying so much more than California. But if you're saying the agreement was a certain geographical area that's in California primarily, then that changes things a little bit.
Well, the permit had designated geographical area that was only in California. That's accurate.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Questions, Commissioner Gardner?
Thank you. Madam Chair. And this primarily is back to Mr. Wadley. As I understand it, I believe that the original resolution was passed by a Board of Commissioners, only one of which is on the Board of Commissioners today. I believe it was in 2020, that we would commit up to 1/2% of the TOT raised for transportation projects in the Tahoe Basin. We would commit up to 1/2%. That was as I understood it, a one-year commitment. Okay, it may have been more than 1 year, but it certainly has expired by now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct about that?
Zach Wadley, Deputy District Attorney. The resolution, I would phrase it as a stated intention of the board. Resolutions can be rescinded at any time. That resolution has been in force and in place since it was enacted in 2020. There were various other conditions, most notably agreement on an overall budget for microtransit to fund up to that 1/2% for microtransit. But the resolution is just simply an intention, a stated intention of the board that can be rescinded by future boards.
Maybe I should back up and say that I should preface my comments by saying I am in support of microtransit. And so none of my comments should be taken hopefully in a negative manner that would say that I'm not in favor of the commitment. Okay, I just thought that the resolution was a time limited resolution. We didn't have to rescind it. I thought it was a given period of time. And that we were not necessarily held to that 1/2%, said up to 1/2%, but we can exceed that. If that resolution is still intact, then do we have the ability to exceed the 1/2%?
Legally, yes. The board can make the decision to exceed the 1/2% and state that intention if they want to. But the cleaner way to do it, and the way that staff has suggested to do that, is to rescind that resolution formally as part of this action today.
So that's part of this action today, is to rescind that and enter into basically enter into local agreement. Is that
correct? Correct.
Okay. Some members of the public have expressed a concern about the discrepancy of how much 1/2% is. I have always heard it to be, at that time, I think when the resolution took place in 2020, I believe it was 2020. Can you give me a date on that so I don't keep repeating the wrong date? 2020? Okay. At that time, I believe in 2020, the TOT tax 1% of TOT tax was about $1 million. So the anticipation was about $500,000 a year. By the time that we actually acted upon that resolution, the TOT tax had gone up to about 1.2, so that afforded us the ability to get up to 600,000. In the first year, I believe we were somewhere between, I thought it was 540, it may have been 520, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then we went to 6 the following year, right? And so now this year it's being requested for 650, but we're still within that 1/2%, as I understand it, and because our TOT tax has gone up in that process, right?
Zach Wadley, Deputy Attorney. Yes, I think that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we know how many funds? What is our current balance of reserves in that particular fund? Do you know? Will you have that number?
I do. Wendy Lang, Assistant County Manager for the record. So the current fiscal year's adopted budget began with an opening fund balance of approximately $2.4 million. And then, as I stated earlier, the anticipated revenues budgeted for this year were about $1.3 million.
So basically, if we have $2.4 million in there now, and we're asking for $650 this year, that's still within the 1/2%, even though we're looking at rescinding the resolution. And we're gaining about $1.3 million a year. So basically, in this year, that's going to put us at 3.7 million, right? Somewhere in that ballpark. And so we're only draining that by 650 this year. So we're not, it doesn't appear to me that we're going to exceed at least not exceed the 1%. And we can't do that, right? I mean, we can't devote any more money. I suppose we could out of the general fund. I don't know that I'm inclined to do that, but basically funding it out of this, which has to be spent in the Tahoe Township. So anyways, I was curious about the current reserves in that and what our funding is. I also, like I said, I've been in favor of this program, and I've stated on the record previously, I think last year when we had this issue, is that I'm kind of a little, what's the word for it? Fatigued, I guess. Fatigued at having this issue come before us on an annual basis and having SSTMA and Microtransit come to us not knowing what their funding is going to be, so they can't make long-term obligations in regards to infrastructure, employees to run the system. Our residents can't come to rely on a fixed route or at least or an on-demand system. You know, they can't come to rely on that. I know that the public needs to have that assurance that when they start planning their day, they start planning their week or, you know, their employment based on the ability to get to and from work, they need something that they can rely on. And I don't think that a year-to-year process has been good to you know, ensure the viability of this program. So I'm looking for a longer term, 3 years. I suggested that, I guess, last year. So I don't have any real issues on that. The thing that I've expressed to my South County residents in regards to bringing DART service into there is use it or lose it. And I would say that same thing to these residents, and I've had a lot more public input. I've had a lot more public comment regarding the support of this process versus a couple folks that have said that they have some concerns. But once again, my comments are, you know, if we put it in place for 3 years, we get it in place, the residents can rely on it, our tourists can rely on it. Use it or lose it, folks. If you don't use it, there's no sense having that structure, that infrastructure available. So anyways, I think that covers everything I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to chime in with a couple of my thoughts, and then we'll go to the other two. As I've looked at this and worked on this for several months, there's some factors that are important to me that have led me to support this. And one is I talked extensively with John Erb, who is our roads...
Our transportation engineer.
Transportation engineer, thank you. Because one of the important questions is, what are the other uses for this money? And do we have enough in this fund with these taken out to take care of our other needs? And our other needs are snow removal and some road maintenance. We don't have a lot of miles of roads that we're responsible to maintain at the lake. And Mr. Erb was very comfortable that we can meet those needs while still funding this amount, contracting this amount for service. And within the document, within the agreement, there are provisions that say if the ridership numbers aren't there with our county approval, we can redirect those funds within Douglas County to be used for some other transportation need. For instance, a bike path, a sidewalk, some other kind of transportation work. So if it turns out it's not being used, indeed, they will lose it, and we will put that money to another transportation need. So we can monitor and adjust. And finally, the last comment I want to make is this is really a paradigm shift. Up until this year, our money has been a contribution with no strings attached. This year, we have a contract for service. We are going to provide X amount of dollars, and they're going to provide Y service. Then those are delineated in the exhibits and in the agreement. So that's why the 0.5% is no longer really relevant. That's what one commission thought several years ago should be our contribution. Now we're contracting for service, money for service, and it's not a contribution. So thank you for letting me interject those thoughts. And Commissioner Rice, would you like to jump in?
Oh, would I?
This is your district, isn't it?
It's not only my district, but I was privileged to have been on the TTD and the South Shore TMA for 5 years. Mr. Marino is the second head of TTD. Carl Hasty, who was the head when I came on board, and I had many conversations about transportation at Lake Tahoe, and as well as the role of TTD in that transportation. We have locked horns with our friends to the left side, California, and they have insisted on things that I don't see are practical, like 100% electric buses in Lake Tahoe in the winter, which one of the problems we had was, number one, there was nobody to sell them, and number two, when you did find somebody to sell them, they went out of business and you couldn't get parts. And so the buses sat at the bus barn while we were using other modes of transportation for the bus system. One of the big problems that TTD has had was a stable system for funding. You could never plan on anything beyond 1 year. And there is a big picture of transportation that would go from Lake Topaz to Sand Harbor, to everywhere at Lake Tahoe, that would be interconnected and seamless. That's going to happen, probably not in my lifetime, but it's going to happen. And what we're talking about today is a big step towards that accomplishment. Every comment that I have received in my email and my telephone calls has been positive about this expansion. I've had doctors talk to me to say, please do this, because up in areas such as Zephyr Heights, we have many residents up there who are, I hate to use this term because I'm 82, elderly, and I do not consider myself elderly yet, but I'm working on it. But they can't drive any longer because some of them have not been able to have their eyes fixed. Thank you very much, doctor. And they can't drive, and so they have trouble getting to their doctor's appointments. Lake Link is the perfect answer to that. And a lot of them are on fixed incomes. And taxi cabs, I don't care what people think about taxi cabs, they're expensive. So I am 100% in favor of this. And Mr. Marino, thank you for what you're doing. You're finally putting the package together, and we are going to be able to expand. And we haven't even talked about bus barns on the Nevada side. That's in the future also, which will expand the regular bus system way into Douglas County at the lake, and afford even more transportation than what we are even contemplating at this point. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Commissioner Tolbert?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First thing I want to do is acknowledge that this proposed agreement is not a perfect solution, but it does represent a practical, low-risk first step and a major, major improvement over the current situation. The overwhelming majority of public comment that I've received, just like everybody else, has been in support. And most of the opposition I've received have, while they've raised valid concerns, they kind of miss the full picture of what this, in my opinion, of what's going on here or what this is proposing. And like I said, it's not supposed to be or presented as an ultimate solution because, of course, we can poke holes in it. I mean, I've poked some myself in our meetings and in my reviews, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a worthy agreement. And what I appreciate most, I believe, in this is that the agreement includes flexibility and the ability to adapt based on the performance and need. So to Mr. Tarkanian's concern, which he's brought up over and over, is what are we getting for our investment? This defines that, and it also provides if we're not meeting that need over time, that it gets adjusted. So I really like that, and I think that language is critical to this. And it means we can start now and refine as we go, which is exactly what I think responsible public services should be about. That's how they should evolve. So for the first time in a long time, this represents a step in the right direction toward a unified and clearly defined transit network for Douglas County, and one that begins to connect the gaps in service. It directly contracts with the provider, removes a layer of bureaucracy, by bypassing TDVA, and it creates a foundation for future transit expansion. But I also think it's worth recognizing, again, that this opportunity, whoops, my notes just slid away, did not come from a top-down bureaucracy. It came from the initiative of a local resident. So I want to point out Mr. Davenport. He's the one who saw on his own the need, and he took action to improve the situation. And that was even in one of the comments is, who is Mr. Davenport? Well, he's somebody that took the initiative, and his effort is a reminder of what can happen when residents actually become part of the solution and don't sit on the sideline and poke additional holes. So I would say to all of those who come before this board with criticism on this or any issue, I encourage you to follow this example that Mr. Davenport's setting and bring forward ideas, participate in the process, and work to make meaningful change. So that said, the success of this proposal will depend on strong execution and clear performance evaluation, and whether the county commits to broader transit planning beyond just microtransit. And so what's lacking in this current agreement, in my opinion, is a built-in requirement for the parties involved to continue moving forward beyond just the funding. So I would suggest that we add to the proposed motion the following language. Before this agreement can be renewed, staff will bring back an item to discuss the transportation objectives that include fixed route and microtransit services. I think this addition ensures that we're not just funding operations year after year without a long-term vision. It allows staff time to collaborate with all the stakeholders, public, private, and regional, to define what we want our transit system to look like in Douglas County. But I want to say it again, I believe this is a very meaningful first step, one that opens the door to lasting improvements. And I would like to say, let's not allow perfection to be the enemy of progress, and let's get clear-eyed about where we go next.
Applause. That was great. Thank you, Commissioner Tolbert. I believe we'll go to public comment next. Ms. Learnhardt, welcome.
Good morning, Elizabeth Learnhardt for the record. You took most of my talk out. I wanted to go over the history of this, and I really applaud what you have done, Chairman Hells. I really think you were the first one and the one that keeps pushing the issue that Douglas County pays for this program, yet we have no benefits. I want to clarify my position as you asked me, and this is what I want to say. It was not the residents that were against spending these funds on microtransit. We are against the fact that it all goes to South Lake Tahoe and to certain constituents in the casino corridor who now have a fixed service between Caesars Republic to Round Hill. We understand this is needed. And in the meeting, this is a long history, and it was pointed out to a certain degree here. In the meeting, in the special meeting of the Board of Commissioners in 2022, where Commissioner Gardner pointed out that the the map would go exactly 250 feet into Douglas County and all the rest of the transportation was in South Lake Tahoe, it was very clear that it was a sleight of hand that was happening there. Because all the ones present were for this, and they still are for this. And yes, we do need all this, and the needs are being basically used to sugarcoat the fact that special interests want to use these funds that have to stay at the lake according to NRS 244, that they are used for South Lake Tahoe and for the needs of the people like the Star Alliance and the resorts. I think we need to focus on the fact that we need to serve the citizens and not use them as the purpose for somebody else's agenda. So that is what I'm saying, and as of all the other things, it was very well pointed out how these convoluted finances are working or not working. The other thing is, Tahoe Douglas Visitor Authority has been notably absent today. They have been notably absent last year at the Oversight Committee of the State of Nevada in presenting any kind of finances. I think it needs to be demanded that they do. And I appreciate what was said about that today, and it's not part of this agreement. The other problem I have with the agreement, and I agree with the rescinding of the resolution, that's fine, that's a clean way to deal with it, but having a 3-year agreement where the TOT is a moving target and the amount we're committed with as a county is a fixed target doesn't seem to make sense in my mind, because there are budget for shortfalls as happened last year. What are we going to do in that situation? So that's just a technical thing on the side. But overall, we need to demand more fiscal openness and transparency. And I refer to Ellie Waller, who wrote a lot of these comments even to this meeting and last year's meeting in September 5th. So please take that into account. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Learnhardt. Welcome, Mr. Walder.
My name is Kirk Walder, and while I'm on the Planning Commission, these are my individual views. I support this agenda item to provide adequate, fair, and reliable funding to the Tahoe Transportation District for the microtransit program known as LakeLink. The agreement before you is well thought out and beneficial to both residents of Douglas County who live in Tahoe and taxpayers in the entire county. With this agreement, LakeLink will serve an increasing number of residents of Douglas County, primarily workers, but also those who might be unable to drive. It is clear that Tahoe businesses, especially our small businesses, have difficulty attracting and retaining workers, providing free transportation benefits both workers and their employers. LakeLink is also a valuable service for our visitors, both those that stay in vacation home rentals and in hotels. It not only reduces traffic, a benefit to our full-time residents, but increases the likelihood that visitors will visit various commercial businesses during their stay. The more visitors out and spending money increases business profits and provides more revenue to Douglas County. I'm reminded of the old adage, it takes money to make money. And here, this money will not only make money for Douglas County, but save money for Douglas County workers. LakeLink has a good track record and is becoming a useful service for Douglas County residents, businesses, and visitors. I hope you approve this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, I don't see any public comment. Then
Can we have some discussion before we take a motion?
Sure, go ahead.
Matter some stuff. Can we state our reasons why we're going to vote the way we want first, I should say?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I've been going back and forth on this item. Got almost minute by minute as we go through this meeting. I started off, as I have in the past couple of years, believe that this is a totally unfair, what we have now is totally unfair agreement with microtransit between ourselves and California. Nevada pays far substantial money to this system than California does, and California gets far substantial benefits from it. Not just Douglas County, but the Event Center, the state of Nevada, it has been paying probably twice to 3 times as much. I've argued about this each year, and each year I keep getting voted down, and we keep putting in $540,000 to $600,000. The taxpayers of California should have sent us all a Christmas card and thank us for our contribution to keep their taxes lower. Just a second. I'm trying to get this in order so it all makes sense. I think the opposition, contrary to what one of the commissioners stated, the opposition has a clear understanding of why this agreement, the current agreement, is bad, not the proponents. The proponents look at the benefit that they'll get from this additional service, which I agree with completely. It's the opposition that's looking at, are the Nevada tax dollars being used fairly with regards to California's? I have a real big concern. Well, no, let me just go back. So then we start looking at the positives of it, and what Commissioner Chairwoman Hale stated really is very, very, very important in regards to what else are we doing with these funds that are there. There's $2.4 million that are sitting in reserves that we're getting $1.3 million additional each year at this time. And she's right, we're not using those funds, and this would provide an additional benefit to the residents of the Douglas side of Lake Tahoe. So, there's a real positives in passing it. I think that may be one of the most important factors. The second part that's really important is what Wendy Lang has stated in regards to the federal funds. One of the problems with this Lake Link project is that it isn't available for private funds, federal funds as it is now. And I guess somehow, I don't quite understand it, if we do this through the way they're talking about, we'll be able to acquire some of the federal funds that are used for transportation. That's a really big, big thing. I have a problem with regards to the 3-year lockdown. I disagree with Commissioner Gardner, who stated that he's fatigued by this and seen it each year. To me, until California puts up what they should be putting up, their fair share, we should be locked into a long-term commitment in doing so. And I've talked with Mr. Davenport, which again, I really appreciate you, Mr. Davenport, reaching out to me on numerous occasions and going through this and the patience that you've had with me and what you're trying to accomplish. Mr. Davenport said that he thinks California is going to put in a couple $100,000 more and make that commitment in a few months, but they haven't made that commitment. We don't know if they're going to make that commitment, and we're going to lock ourselves in for 3 years before they do. So that leads me back to, why are we doing this? And we probably shouldn't commit for that long. The other positive for it, so then I go back to the positives for it, and I'm sorry, I'm not as saying as concise as I like to, but I wanted to get this all out. The other positive is we're providing service to a lot of areas that we've asked for many years to provide, and I think that's really important. And this agreement, as I think one of the commissioners has stated, is much better than the previous agreement. I think Commissioner Hale stated this. With regards to the amount of additional money we're putting in, we're getting more benefits for this project than we're probably paying in additional funds. The problem is we start at such a disadvantage to begin with. I don't think it's still quite equitable. But the fact that we're providing additional services to so many other areas is very important, particularly when we're not using the money for other stuff. I have a big problem, and it takes me back to the negatives, that the county's providing these funds, and a lot of the benefits are going to the event center and to the casino corridor there. And a lot of these private companies were contributing the first year. And that was one of the things that when they came to us as a board, they enticed us by saying, look, this is a joint project with all of us. We're all got some skin in the game. We're all going to provide some money for it. And then they don't, and then after the first year, those private companies are no longer paying anything, but they're asking Douglas County to pay more and more. So I go against it. And I disagree with one of the other commissioners says this is not what our needs are. That's the most that this project is going to do. It's what the cost is. It's the cost that we're doing compared to what California's paying worth it? And I would say no, but is the cost of what we're doing that's going to provide additional services that benefit the public in our Douglas County worth it? Then yes, we're getting additional service in areas that are much needed. So I go back and forth on it. I just wanted to make those comments. I still don't know exactly how I'm going to vote. I think the four of you have made it pretty clear. But if there's some other comments, then I'll reserve my judgment until then. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Tarkanian. I will jump in and add that in my meetings at SSTMA and at TTD and also at the Tahoe Blue event stakeholder meetings, I am already putting the pressure on our sister entities in South Lake Tahoe and El Dorado County and private groups. And I'm saying, look, this is a stool. Douglas County, if we pass this, we're putting one leg on the stool. The stool needs 3 more legs to be really stable. And so they're getting a lot of pressure. They're going to continue to get pressure because they need to pony up for 3 years as well so that we can have stability and long-term planning. And so your points are very well taken. All right, commissioners. Commissioner Tolbert.
And I'd like to add in there to your point, Mr. Tarkanian, that this contract guarantees services to Douglas County for these 3 years and in this expansion. And in that, should it prove that the ridership is not there or it's not needed or that it's not that it's allowing for the realignment of the services so they don't reduce. So am I saying that right, Mr. Davenport, that the services will not be reduced for Douglas County through this project? So it's basically guaranteeing that we are going to get the Nevada service that we haven't been getting. So that's, for me, one of the big things on this one that I really like. But like I said, I also agree that, you know, without what I'm proposing to add, I'm not sure I would support it without the requirement that we have something by the end of these 3 years that's more substantial, that includes, you know, an overarching, that's, you know, the fixed rate and the micro, that we have, you know, some kind of plan with objectives at that time before this would possibly be renewed. But I think that also allows us time to do and compile the research and information that we have and bring that back at that time. So that would be my pitch to you to agree with why the 3 years would be good.
Any other comments, or are we ready for Commissioner Tolbert to make Commissioner Gardner?
And I heard you, Commissioner Tolbert, talk about a return, I suppose, to tell us how things are progressing, right? But you said at the end of 3 years, if I caught that correctly? Yes. Anyways, I guess I think I would like to, if we make this commitment of 3 years, I'd still like to get an annual report on how it's going and the ridership, okay, and the benefits, rather than waiting 3 years to find out that it hasn't really had any impact.
I agree with you 100%. That wasn't what I meant to say. Okay. I just meant, you know, we were going to engage staff to work on these objectives and bring them back, but this would expire in 3 years, and if we haven't gotten that done by then, I would not be in favor of renewing at that point.
As the representative on those boards, I watch every month what the ridership is, but I think we should have an annual report of ridership, and I will commit to doing that. Even if it's written, you know, we don't have to have a lengthy agenda item because some of us are fatigued. All right, is there a motion? Commissioner Tolbert?
I just had to flip my page. Okay. So I recommend the approval of the interlocal agreement between Douglas County, acting as Tahoe Douglas Transportation District, and the Tahoe Transportation District to contribute funding for the operation of a microtransit system within the Tahoe Douglas Transportation District from the 1% transient lodging rental tax collected in the Tahoe Township in the amount of $650,000 for fiscal year 2025-2026, and increasing by $100,000 each of the next 2 fiscal years for the expansion of service area within the Douglas County and rescind Resolution 2020 R-037. And before this agreement can be renewed, staff will bring back an item to discuss the transportation objectives that include fixed route and microtransit services.
I second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Rice. Is there any other comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. I believe we'll break for lunch and reconvene at 2 o'clock. That gives us plenty of time. And I was going to pause before we adjourn and ask Mr. Davenport or Mr. Marino if you would like to make a comment.
Hi, Dennis Davenport for the record. I live in Zephyr Heights, and I don't consider myself elderly either, Commissioner Rice. Thank you for letting me be a part of the conversation. I came prepared today to talk about the why, and my 91-year-old dad in Dallas, who was all his life a salesman, said, you know, once you've got the deal done, stop talking. So we don't have to talk about all this color that I brought with me today. Some of it I think would be interesting to you, but you covered it all really. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing and the support for Lake Link. And I want to make an important announcement. The phase of the first expansion, 2025 expansion, was turned on this morning. So it's live.
Excellent.
That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Marino, do you want to say anything? Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Jim Marino, Executive Director. We really appreciate you hearing this item. We know it's a bit short notice and it's kind of acting quick. I just want to mention now that it's passed here, we'll be bringing it to our board on August 11th for ratification. So that's the next step in this process. So once again, we thank you. We think this is a great move. We really appreciate the opportunity to bring federal apportionment back to South Shore throughout this mechanism. So thank you.
Great. And acknowledgement to you and your team for getting this done quickly. And also, a thank you to Mr. Wadley for quickly and effectively improving what we had in mind and making it better and getting it done. So thank you. And thank you, Ms. Lang. Good job. All right, we are adjourned until 2 o'clock.
sale or easement or?
Oh, yeah, the $8,000 thing. Yeah. Okay. All right, we are ready to re-adjourn. It is 2:00. This is the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We are at agenda item 13.1 for possible action, discussion to approve a professional services contract with Construction Materials Engineers, Inc. for material testing related to the Justice Center, guaranteed maximum price, GMP contract number 2, in an amount not to exceed $355,570, and authorize the county manager to execute the contract. We welcome Scott McCullough, project manager.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hales, members of the board, Scott McCullough, project manager. Did I hear you correctly that we're going to do the core construction GMP first, or we're going to do the CME? Okay, CME.
The CME, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So again, the CME contract is a materials testing contract. CME has done phase 1 or GMP 1 for testing. We're also under contract with them for Muller Parkway. So they do excellent work. They have a great track record, and they're a good outfit. But with the T&M basis, it's a benefit to the county since they'll be on multiple projects in the region where you're not sending a guy down just for one project. He has multiple projects in the region. So again, on a T&M contract, it's a great deal. So we, the cost is an estimate of cost. And again, it's a time and material basis, and we do not plan on exceeding that amount.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. McCullough? All right, we'll go to public comment. Is there any public comment on this issue? Returning to the board for Commissioner Tarkanian, are you with us? Okay, he is not with us yet, but we will, let's go ahead and take action on this one and then think about a pause before we do the next one. Is there a motion on this item? Commissioner Gardner.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of a professional services contract with Construction Materials Engineers Incorporated for material testing related to the Justice Center guaranteed maximum price GMP contract number 2 in the amount not to exceed $355,570, and authorize the county manager to execute the contract as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gardner, seconded by Commissioner Tolbert. All in favor? Aye. Oh. Any opposed? No. Okay. So Commissioner Tarkanian has just joined us. Good to have you here.
I was on the non-meeting Zoom link waiting for you guys to get started.
Oh, okay.
I had it screwed up.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Well, glad you're here. We did take action on 13.1. It's pretty cut and dried, so, but we were going to pause right now if you didn't join us, but you're here, so that's good. All right. Agenda items 13.2, 0.3, and 0.4, well, and 0.2 and 0.3 are also for Scott McCullough to present. But before we go on, would you introduce who you have with us for these agenda items?
Be my pleasure. We have two representatives from the project. First, Kevin Kemner, TSK Architects out of the Reno office, and then Travis Coombs, Vice President of Operations for Core Construction. Both gentlemen were on also the community center that we built back in 2014. Travis was a project manager back on that, and Kevin was also a design architect on that project. So the history we have with this team is lengthy and successful, and we'll demonstrate that it will remain successful for the next couple of years.
We're very thankful for your work and your proven record here, and welcome. Glad to have you. So turning to 13.2, for possible action, discussion to approve a construction manager at risk CMAR contract with Core Construction for the Justice Center guaranteed maximum price GMP number 2 in an amount not to exceed $47,923,417, and authorize the county manager to execute any required documents. Mr. McCullough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, Scott McCullough, Project Manager. It's an exciting day bringing this agenda item to the board. Again, we've been working on this project since 2014 when Judge Perkins realized that the existing JLEC was a shorter space and it wasn't getting any better. It's been a long journey and lots of options were reviewed. When the time came, we were able to purchase a property and send us to the new site. It was excitement, but more relief that we weren't remodeling the existing JLEC, putting another 20,000 square feet in and a parking garage, in an urban setting that would have been inappropriate. So out in the field, we have designed a 50,344 square foot building with 4 courtrooms and space for the district attorney and court clerk, not just for now, but for the next population of up to 65,000. Again, we didn't want to put a time limit on these types of projects because we saw what happened with population in the early part of the next century, where it went, and we weren't ready for that. So we know the number, and we also have a plan, when it exceeds that, how to expand the building. So a lot of thought went into that. The project, again, was divided into 2 phases. For the main reason is since the pandemic, electrical switchgear has been a long lead item, 18 to 24 month, and it's been, the pain has been felt throughout, the country with ordering that material. So we knew that if we wanted to have that material on time for the building, we would have to order it early. Therefore, we started GMP1. And while we were doing GMP1 to order that gear, we did a lot of the other things, to widen the Buckeye, create the pad, build the utility building. And again, it helped us with beating some inflation because it's project's complete now. That was bid, 18 months ago. It's complete. And then it allowed us to simultaneously construct GMP1 and also complete the design work. That little bit of a delay also helped us with the economy. The economy softening has made the bidding opportunity that much better for public works projects. There's been enough slowdown in the private sector where we're getting a lot more interest in public works projects. So the bidder turnout we had on this was excellent. We couldn't have been more happy. And not only were they great, but the subcontractors that are in this deal are the best in Northern Nevada. So we've got not only the best builder architect, but their subcontractor support this is excellent. So we were really excited about that, to have them help us deliver this project. Core Construction, has been exemplary on working with the county to meet our budget. The best part of the CMAR project or delivery method is estimating to make sure we're on track. And the estimates have always been right on, and you never know until bid day. And on bid day, we came in approximately $2 million under estimate for the diligence of core, but also economic conditions. So those economic conditions have really helped us. I mean, we knew right away opening bids that we were looking on the good side of the project. And again, CMAR's method, core goes through and scrubs all the subcontractors, make sure everything's included, that is in the plans. And that's the best part about the delivery method, is it eliminates as much risk as possible, so you get a price that truly reflective of the project, not a risk. If it is a risk, it's identified as an either allowance or a contingency, which is in the contract. And again, another plus this type of method is we have allowances and contingencies that, if not used, will be returned to the county. So it's our job for the next 2 years to make sure that we are being as economical, as possible, to return as much as we can of this 47.9 back to the county, which traditionally, we have. So we plan on keeping that same track record of coming in. Again, they're not going over by guarantee, but how much we're going to get back is yet to be seen. With that, they proposed a GMP. We reviewed it, and found some areas that we thought we could have enjoy more savings. Court offered some other savings. So the draft GMP came at 48.4, and it was then reduced to the 47.9. A great example is we have 4 elevators in the building. and all 4 finishes were for a nice commercial building. And we have 2 for incarcerated folks, from the Sally Port up to the jail that, we were going to pay $60,000 for a nice finish on an elevator. We knew that we don't need a nice finish on that type of elevator. Reduce that from the GMP and reduce it down. We found similar items like that to bring the contract amount to the $47,900. And with that, we are highly confident and highly ready to start the project right away. Again, we're going to enjoy a groundbreaking hopefully in a couple weeks, and work will start immediately. And one other note is to get it started immediately is we are looking at pre-purchasing as much material as possible to prevent any tariff impact. So again, we'll start looking at those drawings, what we can order now to keep those savings and not utilize that contingency for tariffs that we have built in to it. So with that, we are very ready and very anxious and very excited to go. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Very exciting. Commissioner Tolbert?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I know we've approved this going on, but the comments that I've been getting are at the total cost at, it's averaging out to just under $1,000 a square foot. But that's not just structure costs. Am I right? There's more to it than just that? So people are, my world, they're comparing it to residential. Right. And so we're a lot less than that. So can you just give us a little bit of background of how this compares and how this is a typical a cost per square foot?
You bet. Again, Scott McCullough, project manager. And from the beginning, we utilize $1,000 a square foot for an estimate because that's what traditionally we've been seeing in the market in Northern Nevada in the last 10 years. Once the pandemic came, it was creeping, but once it got to the pandemic, pricing went up and has never come down. And again, we are trying to do everything we can to find those costs, but they went up to $1,000, on multiple buildings throughout Northern Nevada and in Southern Nevada that Corps has built. So it wasn't just, an estimate. We have hard costs from other projects. The detail of the building itself, even compared to residential, is a type 2B, which means it is masonry, steel, and concrete. That alone with that structural steel, compared to a wood frame or anything else, adds a significant amount of cost. And again, we're putting the detail in that building where the masonry is not just a running bond masonry course. There's soldier courses and detailing that added to the cost. But again, we're building a courthouse where these types of finishes, are unique to one type of building, and this is it. But again, it comes with a cost. The court and the court systems, the IT systems alone are extremely expensive. There are specialized systems that, you don't have an option to not put in. You will put it in. And again, we're building an infrastructure for IT that is ready for today, but 20 years from now. So the amount of MDFs, IDFs, the conduit runs, we have done as much as we can for today, but for the future. So you don't have that situation like when we were building 10 years ago, we didn't know what an IDF or an MDF was, which is the main data frame room for your IT. We would go find closets, but now we build those in and they take cost. So even comparing to a commercial, courthouse you did 20 years ago with the electronics, the IT, you're adding, hundreds of thousands more. So again, we try to find the most, a design that is excellent, but also try to find ways to build that in the most economical ways and meeting code and meeting the requirements of the courts. Again, glazing, we have bulletproof glazing, on the first floor, which itself, the glazing alone is $500,000 just for the glass itself. But again, it's a requirement of this type of building that you don't think about when you're ordering windows for any other type of project and that cost associated with that. You have security, you have this, the x-ray machines, you have all those things that are layered upon layered, add the cost, but are required for this type. So the detail of the building is incredible.
Commissioner Tarkanian, did you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Rice?
It's amazing what has to go into a public building like a police department or a courthouse. Having come from that arena, I want to see that this courthouse is state of the art, that the courts are protected, the clerks are protected, the public is protected, and from everything that I've seen so far, and I might throw a kudo to the CMAR. You did a great job on our event center, and I was there for the groundbreaking of that. I will be here for the groundbreaking of this. I don't know if the building will be done before I get out of here, but I am delighted, and you have done a marvelous job, and thank you for what you've done.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your attendance today and bringing this presentation to us. Something that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. I originally, in my first campaign, talked about the need to address this aging current JLEC Center. So I appreciate we're finally getting there. You made mention one item that I really appreciate the idea of and forward thinking. I think you said if ever comes the need, or at least that's what I wrote down. If ever comes the need, we have the ability to expand at the new site. Now, I hope that I'm not necessarily around when there comes that need. But I don't know that when they built the current JLEC Center in 1982, that they envisioned the need and certainly didn't prepare for the need because the current site of the JLEC Center is not expandable in my mind. And the possibility, the consideration that the board considered previously about renovating that building and accommodating another courthouse there, and the parking that was going to be needed was just going to be a Band-Aid on top of a growing problem that would never get resolved if we didn't resolve it now. And so I appreciate the forward thinking that you're placing into this building and looking to those things that need to be done. And we have progressed. Technology certainly in the need for protection of our public has expanded since this was first not recognized first, but in 2014 when it started getting impetus, things have expanded at a breakneck speed, right? I mean, it's just really gotten so I'm really pleased about that. I would have thought that maybe obligating this $48 million, we would have had a greater fanfare and more public involvement here, right? So that surprises me a little bit, but hopefully we can get that fanfare on August 1st at 8:30 in the morning out at the Buckeye site when we actually put shovels in the ground for that. We've already done a lot of infrastructure out there, but finally building from the ground up will be exciting, and I hope the public takes an opportunity to come out and witness that. I would suggest to members of the public that are not here today that if they have any concerns about the abilities of core construction, then they need not go any further than the community center and take a look at the construction down there, because while that entered with a lot of angst within our community, I don't think you can find a single person in our community now that thinks otherwise, that building was not a necessary and an important aspect. We get commissioners from all over the state come into that facility and do nothing but compliment us. So anyways, I look forward to August 1st besides today. So
I feel like this is an ongoing of many decisions that have brought us here today. So it's a huge decision, but the foundation has been laid so well over the course of time that we're in a very comfortable place moving forward. I really appreciate the two examples you gave, Mr. McCullough, of going through with a fine-tooth comb and shaving off some expenses that keep it as low as possible. Even though we could have gone higher, it is really wonderful to have a little of that money to perhaps remodel the old or do some other things with. So it's really wonderful that you took that extra time and effort to really justify every expense. I appreciate that. All right, let's go to public comment. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I will close public comment and look to the board for a motion. Commissioner Rice.
If no one else is going to do it, I'll be more than happy to. I move that we approve a construction manager at risk, or CMAR, contract with Core Construction for the Justice Center, guaranteed maximum price number 2 in amount not to exceed $47,923,417, and authorize the county manager to execute any required documents.
I will second that, Madam Chair.
Been moved by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Gardner. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.
Buy the shovels.
Look forward to August 1st. Agenda item 13.3 for possible action, discussion to approve TSK Architects supplemental request for $350,000 for additional professional design services provided for the Justice Center project. Mr. McCullough.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Scott McCullough, Project Manager. Again, we contracted with TSK for the project 2 years ago. That cost was approximately $3.5 million. It's interesting because typically design contracts are based on project costs. With project costs being in flux with inflation pandemic, it was really difficult to nail where the proper amount should be. We settled on the 3.5, which back then we thought the project was going to be around $35 million. If you took a strict 10% on today's cost, that same design contract would be approximately, $4.8 million. So again, you take that component of inflation out of that, which is appropriate, and you come up with that number. The work that we asked TSK to do in addition to that contract were a couple things. Number one, the GMP 1 versus 2. We didn't make that decision until after we entered in contract. So it really makes TSK prepare 2 separate sets of documents, for bidding for construction. So that takes time to divide that and put that in 2 separate projects as one. The other one was the schematic design. When you're deciding what the building is going to look like and the general size, it took 12 months and we'd scheduled 1 month. So it took a lot longer. But again, that time was required, to vet, what is appropriate for the county. And we did. It just took a lot longer and it took a little more time, through that portion of the work. And lastly was it was our intent to build juvenile probation over there. And we had to then, after we completed schematic design and we're into design documents, the next phase of design, we had to go back and relook at how do we fit JP over there. So we had to go back and do design work, and we got up to 50% design of that portion of the job just because we needed an estimate to see what that cost was going to be so we could see if we could include in the project. Unfortunately, we were unable to, but what it leaves us is a set of 50% drawings, so whenever it is possible, we are 50%, ahead. I mean, the glass is 50%. So I don't know if that's half full or half empty because it's at 50%, but we're ready to go, if needed. So that was extra work they did. And we just, to look at a number, the existing contract says, you will bill extra work at an hourly rate. And again, to accumulate those hours is a project in itself. So we kind of looked at a number which took us back to the original contract amount, which is 3.5, and basically add another 10% on that for the work they did. And that's why we came up with that, that or the 350 was theoretically what we would have added to that contract originally and not track it through hours. And it's less, I can guarantee you it's less than the costs they have. But again, TSK has worked with us, since 2014, well, before that on the committee, and have been great partners. And, it was a number that was appropriate and they agreed to it. and we have no problem supporting the extra work they did for us to achieve where we are on the project today.
Thank you. Are there questions for Mr. McCullough? I previously asked a couple of questions about this. My understanding is if you went strictly from an hourly, their extra cost would be much higher, but this is a price that was agreed upon by all as being adequate.
Yes.
I appreciate that. And I will say it's my personal experience to have watched during a number of requests for tweaks, redesigns, rethinking, because I believe the county was exceedingly careful and thorough in coming to the design it currently has, and all of those requests should be compensated. And so I feel this is fair. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion. Commissioner Gardner.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the TSK Architect Supplemental Request for $350,000 for additional professional design services provided for the Justice Center project as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gardner, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian, that we approve this additional design service fee. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. Before you leave, gentlemen, we would like to get a photograph. So we'll just take a 2 or 3 minute pause while we get a photograph. All right, we're down our digital commissioner. So
He stepped out to take a picture of us.
all right, agenda item 13.4 for possible action, discussion to authorize staff to 1, sell a Douglas County owned 1 acre parcel, APN 1022-17-002-010 by public auction in accordance with NRS 244.282, and 2, prior to initiating the sale, requiring a deposit in the amount of $8,000 from Richard Martin, who requested the sale of the property. Mr. Ritger, Public Works Director, will present.
Commissioner Hales and Chairman Hales and Commissioners, Phil Ritger, Director of Public Works, for the record. So this is kind of a unique situation, one that's very new to me, and actually probably new to the county in terms of being selling property. But The parcel in question, or the parcel for consideration, was a parcel that was created back in 1979 with the subdivision of when the Holbrook Business Park subdivision was put in. If you haven't seen the article in the Record Courier, actually, it came out yesterday, a nice little synopsis of the business park and the, I'll call it lack of development down there over the course of, since 1979. Failed attempts at various things. In that business park right now, there's really only there are two structures that were constructed. One is now serving as the Carson Tahoe Health Center, satellite center down there, and the other is a water tank on a parcel that was dedicated for East Fork Fire at the time. In that business park development was the APN in question here. It's unique. The original developer never put in the roads or infrastructure or anything into this business park, so there's really no. I think originally there was intended to be a water system, roads. I'm not sure sewer was intended down there as well, but it was going to be a full-fledged commercial center. The lot that was, or the parcel that was allocated for the county for what was going to be a county yard is sort of in the middle of the current acreage. There is an easement from State Route 20, I think it's 206 or 208 down there. Anyway, from the state route into that parcel, but there are no roads. There's nothing has been developed down there. So Mr. Martin owns the surrounding parcels, so this is an island parcel in between the properties that he owns, and he has approached the county with the request to see if we would be interested in selling it. So staff has looked at this. It is not, there's nothing in the foreseeable future that we have to utilize that parcel down there. So we are coming here with to seek advice or the recommendation from this board to proceed with the sale. As you mentioned in the title of this, the sale has to be done by public auction. And those costs, the costs for the appraisals, all the upfront costs would be borne by essentially by the winning bidder. So to start this process, to initiate this, NRS does allow the board to require a deposit on behalf of in this case, Mr. Martin, and that would cover all of the upfront costs. If he is not the winning bidder, he would be reimbursed for those costs, and the winning bidder would bear all of that additional cost. So with that, if there's any questions, I can answer those.
I don't see any questions, so we'll go to public comment. I assume you're Mr. Martin? Welcome. Thank you for putting up the $8,000 to take care of this.
I don't suppose it would be good form to go down and bid him up.
Mr. Wadley's shaking his head no, so that is a no. Commissioner Gardner.
Mr. Richter, do we have the ability to put that map up on so we can see exactly where that? I think it's board packet number page 878. Is that right? Okay, that's what I was looking at. I'm just having a difficult time identifying exactly where that parcel is. I think I know where it is, but I'd like confirmation, that's all. Where did you see it at? To the far, huh? Oh, yeah. To the far right? I'm sorry, I should have asked for that in advance of this.
Phil Whitker, Director of Public Works. Sorry, my mic was off. Yeah, the parcel, if you can see the cursor, is this 1 acre parcel right here. There is an easement from the state highway that would get into that parcel. Mr. Martin's properties are the surrounding properties on both sides of this.
Got an island in the middle of his property.
Okay, I think I was a little fuzzy about public comment. Is there any public comment? Oh, okay, public comment's closed. And then we had additional question or comment by the board. Is there a motion?
Since it's in my district, I guess.
Commissioner Gardner.
I move that we authorize staff to, number one, sell a Douglas County owned 1 acre parcel, APN 1022-17-002-010 by public auction in accordance with NRS 244.282, and 2, prior to initiating the sale, require a deposit in the amount of $8,000 from Richard Martin, who requested the sale of the property, as presented.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gardner and seconded by Commissioner Rice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Agenda item 14.2 for possible action, discussion to adopt ordinance 2025-1657, amending Douglas County Code Title 18, Town Annexation and Service Districts, Appendix B, the Minden Town boundary by annexing approximately 57 acres that are adjacent to the existing Town of Minden boundary and will serve as the site of the future Douglas County Justice Center. The area to be annexed is Assessor's Parcel Number 1320-28-000-045 and located at 1280 Buckeye Road, Minden, Nevada. This is a second reading. Deputy District Attorney Zach Wadley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zach Wadley, Deputy District Attorney. The proposed adoption of this ordinance concludes the process to annex the Justice Center site into the town of Minden, which is legally required because the district court, which will be in that building, has to hold court within the county seat, which is the town of Minden. So the Minden boundaries need to be expanded to encompass this site. So with that, I'll take any questions.
I don't see any questions. Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? There is no public comment on this agenda item. Is there a motion? Commissioner Tolbert.
Madam Chair, I propose we adopt ordinance 2025-1657 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Rice, that we adopt ordinance 2025-1657. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Good work, Mr. Wadley. Thank you.
Don't take all the members of the public with you, please.
All right, we are on agenda item 15.1 for possible action, discussion on a collective bargaining agreement between Douglas County and the Douglas County Sheriff's Protective Association, DC SPA, from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Christine Vito, Human Resources Director, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It'll just take 1 second. I have a presentation that we're loading up.
Thank you.
Christine Vito, Human Resources Director, for the record. Today, the item before you begins in your packet on page 901. This is an overview of the Douglas County Sheriff's Protective Association collective bargaining agreement. And with me is Chief Operating Officer Kathy Lewis, who was our chief negotiator this year for this agreement. The contract term, we were fortunate to negotiate a 3-year term with the association. So this contract begins on July 1, 2025 and expires in 2028. I'm going to quickly summarize the major changes in the updated agreement and hope to ensure that you have a clear understanding of the significant changes. The objectives of the negotiation were data-driven. We relied very heavily on our negotiation team in collecting and analyzing data to make the decisions that we did in this process. We were focused on listening to the priorities of the other party and trying to formulate our proposals around what they were communicating to us. We emphasize collaboration, transparency, and we had a very respectful negotiation process. And I would just like to say that this is the result of many individuals, a lot of hard work, open communication, lots of analyzing data and working to ensure that we had a good contract and it's a sustainable outcome for Douglas County. So the significant change to the contract is related to compensation. In the DC SPA contract, which covers deputies and investigators, we reduced the number of steps in their step plan from 11 to 8. And another significant change is we increased the percentage between steps from 3% to 3.5%. And in year 2 of the contract, that spacing increases to 3.75%. Again, this is a database decision and consistent with other local jurisdictions. We also negotiated COLA adjustments that are outlined in the contract. 2.5% for this fiscal year, 2.5% in 26-27, and 3% in 27-28. And this chart shows what our step tables in our contract look against the average of our local comparators. The blue bars are the minimum, midpoint, and maximum of our contract that was tentatively agreed upon. And the yellow, orange, and red indicate the average, minimum, midpoint, and maximum of our comparators. A significant challenge that we had to tackle this year in negotiations was the significant increase in PERS rates. For police fire PERS, that increase was 8.75%, and that under statute is shared equally between the employer and the employee. In this negotiation, we negotiated to cover an additional 1.875% of the PERS. The PERS hit, if you will, that the employee would have realized. Thus, it's a cost, I'm sorry, I'm failing to find my words. It results in a 0 net decrease in employee pay for those employees covered under this contract, which is consistent with our objectives of maintaining a good compensation practices and ensuring that no salaries are reduced. Another change to the contract involved incentive pays and premiums. There were negotiated increases to post pay for this bargaining group. Field training officer pay was increased. We removed bomb squad duty pay from the hazardous pay incentive and created its own incentive pay. And we added canine assignment pay. Historically, deputies who had a canine were receiving a incentive pay. However, it was brought to our attention that there were some considerations under FLSA that needed to be addressed. And so canine handlers receive an additional level of compensation for the work that they perform. And the other pays not specifically called out were increased in this section of the contract by the COLA this year. Another change was to longevity pay. There's an updated longevity schedule built into the contract, and it's phased in over the term of the contract. In fiscal year 26-27, the rates of paid to employees per paycheck for longevity will be increased starting at year 11 through 20 plus years, with a maximum of $220 per paycheck. In fiscal year 27-28, those amounts for years 11 through 20 years will increase again with a maximum of $240 per paycheck. And this has been in the contract, but just for your knowledge, longevity begins with 5 years of continuous service. There were some other changes to the contract. A lot of it was clarifying language, creating efficiencies in processes, and extending timelines for responses. And those changes are in your board packet in the red line version for you to see. And they affected the sections effects of layoff, grievances, external hearing officer, peaceful performance, overtime, and employee discipline. So I do want to take a moment again to thank both negotiating teams. This was a productive negotiation. And I know it takes a lot of time out of deputies' days for those who sign up to participate on the negotiating team. They have to work their job and then come and bargain at the table with us. They were collaborative, professional, and they were committed to getting this deal done as we were. And that concludes my presentation on the DC SPA contract. I'll take any questions if there are any.
Ms. Lewis?
Thank you. A quick update also is this contract has been ratified by the deputies and investigators, and we have a signed contract from Mr. Fricke. Mr. Fricke couldn't join us this afternoon because of the timing of this meeting and other commitments he had, but we do have signed contracts.
Thank you. Questions, board? Seeing none, I will turn to public comment. Is there any public comment? I'm closing public comment. Not only is there no public comment, there is no public, basically. All right. Commissioner Tarkanian, do you have comments, questions, or would you like to make a motion?
I do not have any comments. I would prefer to let, as I did earlier, let Mr. Garner take my time and he could make that motion. I didn't have it in front of me, Mark. That's why I asked the language.
Well, I envy your, Commissioner Tarkanian, I envy your location right now. I grew up in San Diego, so.
Not bad.
Anyways, I believe you're there, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Overlooking the ocean right now. It's beautiful.
Okay. So at this time then, I will offer a motion. I move for the approval of the collective bargaining agreement between Douglas County and the Douglas County Sheriff's Protective Association, better known as DCSPA, from July 1, 2025 through June 30th of 2028 as presented.
I may have missed it. Did you include the sergeants?
That's on the next item.
Oh, I'm reading the wrong one. Never mind.
All right, I'll second it.
Second it?
Okay.
I will second.
Okay, Commissioner Gardner has moved and Commissioner Tarkanian seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Excellent. Good. Congratulations. Agenda item 15.2 for possible action, discussion on a collective bargaining agreement between Douglas County and the Douglas County Sheriff's Protective Association Sergeants Bargaining Unit, DC SPA-SBU, from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Again, to you, Ms. Vito.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Christine Vito, Human Resources Director for the record. I did prepare slides for the Sergeants Bargaining Unit. The contracts are relatively similar, so this should go rather quickly. Again, we have, and as you just read into the record, the contract is for a 3-year term, 2025 to 2028. The change to the sergeant's contract did not change their steps. The sergeants remain at 7 steps. We did increase the percentages from 3% between steps to 3.5%. And based on data that we collected, we did include a 0.5% increase to pay rates and salary ranges. And those are built into the appendix of the contract. Similar to the DC SPA contract, this contract has a provision for step spacing to move to 3.75% between steps, effective in 2026, and the COLA adjustments of 2.5% in 25-26, 2.5% in 26-27, and 3% in 27-28. Again, this table shows the 3 fiscal years that this contract covers. Again, the blue bars indicate the salaries that are outlined in the contract, and the red, orange, and yellow indicate the market average. The other compensation changes are similar to the DC SPA contract that I outlined regarding PERS, incentive pays, and premium pays, and longevity. And the other non-compensation changes are similar to DC SPA regarding effects of layoff, grievances, external hearing officer, peaceful performance, overtime, and employee discipline. Again, the negotiation was productive and efficient. We really appreciate the time invested on both sides to make this a successful negotiation, and we're pleased to be able to bring this contract forward today. And with that, I can answer any questions unless Ms. Lewis has any comments.
Similar comment. This contract has been ratified by the sergeants. We have a signed contract. Again, Mr. Fricke could not make this afternoon because of the timing.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, board? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I close public comment. Is there a motion? Commissioner Rice.
Now I will take care of the sergeants. I move that we approve the collective bargaining agreement between Douglas County and the Douglas County Sheriff's Protective Association Sergeants Bargaining Unit, DC SPA-SBU, from July 2025, July 1, 2025, through June 30, 2028.
I will second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Rice and seconded by Commissioner Tolbert. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. And finally, and next, 15.3 for possible action, discussion on Resolution 2025R-068, providing a one-time salary adjustment, 0.875% increase due to a scheduled Nevada Public Employees Retirement System contribution rate increase on July 9th, 2025, for non-represented police fire member positions. Ms. Vito.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Christine Vito, Human Resources Director for the record. As I explained in my previous presentation, we have a significant increase to PERS contribution rates occurring this year. And we have employees who are not represented by a collective bargaining agreement who fall under the police fire PERS. Those include employees of juvenile probation and alternative sentencing. So this resolution mirrors the intent of the DC SPA and SBU contracts in covering an additional portion of the employee's burden on PERS to ensure that they have no negative impacts to their take-home pay.
Questions? None? Any public comment on this issue? None? Is there a motion? Commissioner
I feel like
Tolbert.
it's my turn. I drank water, I'm good. So I can get through this one. Madam Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025R-068 as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Rice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. And finally, 15.4 for possible action, discussion on a first memorandum of understanding with the Douglas County Sheriff's Administrative Protective Association, DCS APA, amending Article 7 of the current 2024 through 2027 collective bargaining agreement, providing a one-time salary adjustment, a 0.087% increase due to a scheduled Nevada Public Employees Retirement System contribution rate increase on July 19, 2025 for DCS APA member positions. Ms. Vito.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Christine Vito, Human Resources Director for the record. Everything I said before, I'm kidding. This is again related to the significant increase in police fire PERS, and this is our third bargaining unit for law enforcement. This is the Douglas County Sheriff's Office Captains Bargaining Group. They are currently in contract through 2027, but we're bringing this memorandum of understanding forward to ensure that they have the same benefit as the other groups that I have previously mentioned, to ensure that they do not receive a negative impact to their take-home pay.
I'm going to ask for public comment on this. Seeing none, closing public comment. Is there a motion?
Okay, I'll go again.
Commissioner Gardner.
I move for the adoption of the first memorandum of understanding with the Douglas County Sheriff's Administration Protective Association, DCS APA, amending Article 7 of the current 2024 through 2027 collective bargaining agreement, providing a one-time salary adjustment of 0.0875% increase due to a scheduled Nevada Public Employees Retirement System PERS contribution rate increase on July 19, 2025 for DCS APA member positions as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gardner, seconded by Commissioner Rice. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Excellent. Congratulations, Ms. Vito, and we appreciate your work. Yes. That went faster and more smoothly than the amount of work would suggest it would warrant. So yeah, we appreciate the work.
A lot of heavy lifting.
Yes.
To this point. Yes.
To a big team. So thank you. A good team. Our agenda item 16 for presentation only, announcements, reports, updates from county commission members, including updates on the various boards and or commissions that they may be a member of or a liaison to, or any other meetings, functions they have attended, and any request for discussion of a future agenda item. Commissioner Tarkanian.
I do not have anything.
Commissioner Tolbert.
I have a couple. One attended last night the tour of the USA Parkway GIG facilities last night and got an overview of what they do. And I don't know about you, Chairwoman, but I was shocked at the condition of the roads going in there. And it was a pretty big example of what those big trucks daily can do. So it definitely opened my eyes to what that looked like. So it was pretty surprising. But I also noticed that there were several buses that were driving employees to work from there. So there's definitely some things maybe we can steal from that area about how they're treating employees and that with the transit, which ties right into earlier. And then the next one I have is on a much happier side. Our local Carson Valley Little League 12U All-Stars have won the Northern Division for the fourth time ever. So they will be traveling to the state tournament. And so we've acquired a flag. And so we'd like to present that flag to them on Sunday. They're having a little get-together at Lampe Park. If anybody in the public wants to come out at 1:30 at Lampe Park and wish the guys well, that would be great. And we're going to present them with the flag at that time, and so they can hang it in the back of their dugout and know every time they walk in their dugout that their community is behind them.
Such a great idea. Thank you for doing that. Commissioner Rice?
Thank you. I'm looking at my calendar. We haven't had a meeting in a long time.
This board?
Yeah.
June 25th, I believe.
Good. It has been almost a month. Boy, did I. In the meantime, I attended a TDVA board meeting, an LTVA board meeting, a Douglas County Lake Tahoe Sewer Authority meeting, and I'm happy to announce it still runs downhill. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Gardner?
Thank you. I'll start off by saying that the Douglas County Chamber of Commerce had their board installation last night, and so we installed our new officers for this coming year. We have a RTC commission meeting tomorrow, along with a Board of Health meeting. I said that only just to remind myself that we have a Board of Health meeting and a Visitors Authority meeting tomorrow morning also. So tomorrow's a very busy day for me. I just returned on Tuesday from a 4-day conference of the National Association of Counties that was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It happened to be the 90th anniversary of the Nevada National Association of Counties. Our local organization, the Nevada Association, outdates them by 10 years. So, but it was very appropriate. The location was very appropriate. I didn't think about it until I got back there, but very appropriate as we enter this 249th year of our republic in the signing of the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia. So we got to see a lot of historical sites, and that was very good. We also, this is where at the National Convention where we select our officers, selecting a new second vice president who will accede to the presidency in 2 years. But along with that, where we entertain and adopt policy resolutions that are nonpartisan in nature, affecting all 3,069 counties within the United States in our policy statements to Congress. We adopted 146 resolutions. 146 resolutions. So obviously that was a real heavy lift, but we have a lot of different policy committee, steering committees that entertain that. I'm hoping to bring back to the county soon, although it's a work in progress right now, but national staff is still working on studying the impact to counties of the big, beautiful bill that was passed and signed on this last July 4th. So that could have some financial impacts on counties, and hopefully we could bring that forward to at least discuss and digest at a later date. So with that, I know that we had a member of the public ask earlier about light pollution mitigation and whether or not we had county code. I did know that we had county code that affected new business and new construction, installing that type of light. Was not aware that we also, that code included spots in it regarding light pollution mitigation between residents of our county. And so I wasn't aware of that, but I would encourage members of our public who are encountering that issue to certainly reach out to code enforcement and go through that process of resolving that issue, because I know that's important to us. So with that, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I've forgotten it earlier. I thought you would. So it's Title 2680.120, General Lighting. Section B1 specifically addresses that. So code enforcement could, if there's a complaint made, address that. And I believe there might be already something going on that for this one. So that would be great. But I don't know if we want to bring it back for us to look at necessarily dark sky specifically, because that's its own thing. So I don't know if that's something maybe we would want to direct staff to look into a little bit. It's going to be hard to enforce because that means street lights down Gardnerville and Main Street don't comply because they're the globe style. So there's a lot of implications on what dark sky means. Right.
Why don't you mention that?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Jennifer Davidson, County Manager for the record. So one of the biggest strategic planning objectives that we have going currently is the overhaul of Title 20, and this would be a component of Title 20. And so we could examine it more closely as part of that conversation. I'm reluctant to bring off one-off requests for code right now because every single time we go down one of these tangents, it delays us in our bigger picture objective of getting Title 20 done. I'd like to try to fold these pieces into as part of that process, if that's okay. And I'll make a note to staff to follow up with them.
Okay, and then one more in that same direction. It was emailed during the meeting today that we allow commissioners to come in virtually and that we don't allow public comment virtually. So I don't know if that's something else we want to address, but that was another comment that was made during the, I don't know if we want to entertain that issue or not.
Yes, we'll take that under advisement, and if someone in the future wants to ask that be an agenda item, we can have that be, but let's chat. Okay. I'll mention just a few things. Last night we had Carson Water Sub-Conservancy District, and I agree with Commissioner Tolbert's comments. The main agenda item was a preview of the 30-year water plan that will be finalized later this year, towards the end of this year. There are some trends and interesting information. One piece is that our runoff is happening earlier, and that means it's less usable to our irrigators, and it ends up down in Fallon sooner. Another takeaway, and this is the one that is somewhat alarming, is that Douglas is using less water, even though our population has edged up, because we are farming less. And when you farm, irrigation has a high priority in terms of water rights. And as we lose those farms, we lose priority water rights. And to me, it just added further urgency to getting a handle on trying to preserve our open space, which we have a number of efforts that are going in that regard, but this just continues to light a fire under trying to preserve, procure development rights, and support our farms and keep Douglas rural. I would also mention that I've been to Tahoe Blue Event Center stakeholder meetings and Tahoe Transportation District meetings. All of them spent some time talking about our agreement for 3 years with SSTMA, and everybody is applauding us and motivated to get on board. Hopefully motivated enough, we'll see. But I appreciate this board taking kind of a leadership step in making that 3-year commitment. I went to the American Century Classic, and that is a wonderful event in Douglas County, and it was a lot of fun and very well put on, and our law enforcement were very professional, and I appreciate their good work on that. I spent some time talking to Jessica Stocking at China Spring Youth Camp, and some of that, you heard some pieces of that here today regarding the funding of that. She is very positive about the direction of camp. However, she would like to have the funding increase as soon as possible so she can fill every bed. Right now, they're at about half capacity because they can't hire enough staff with the funding that they have. And for young men who are assigned to the camp, there is an 8 to 9 week wait. That means that for 8 to 9 weeks after they're assigned to the camp, they have to spend that time in juvenile detention in their county where they're not getting services. So it's costing counties more to detain youth than it would to get them to China Spring, and they're not getting the help they need to turn around. So this is an issue I'm motivated to continue to work on. And those are the things I wanted to mention in this agenda item. Before going to closing public comment, I want to thank Tanya Balda for being our clerk today. We appreciate her good work. All right, agenda item 17, closing public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Jennifer Davidson, County Manager for the record, speaking as to you as a member of this community. While I'm not a resident, I have deep family ties in our community. And on behalf of my family, I just want to thank you for your leadership today. I don't know if you noticed, but I sure did. I hope you're tired. We just ran a marathon. 1,100 pages, 15 agenda items, and the vast majority of them were tied to strategic objectives and the future for this community. Sometimes county government officials get lost in the sauce of day-to-day administration and operations, but the strategic plan and the objectives that you have set forward for the future of this community are what matters and what will make a difference. I thank you for your positive impact and your leadership.
How very nice. Thank you for that. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed and we are adjourned.